So the big boss Feng Sheng finally showed up with his "I'm in charge now" energy, and everyone in the hall was falling over themselves agreeing with him. First order of business? Roasting that cowardly Tao. Governor Buwan was like, yeah, this guy literally abandoned Zhuing to die, and Feng Sheng just waved his hand like, he's your problem, deal with him, cold. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. Then Buwan gave the whole military briefing. 50,000 border troops split two ways. The Yuan army already hammering Huizhou with at least 50,000 of their own. You could literally see the relief washing off Buwan's face. Before Feng Sheng arrived, if anything went wrong, it was all on him. Now, oh, that's the Grand General's call, not mine, smart man. Feng Sheng laid down the law. 10 days. Every army better be assembled at Huizhou, or he's charging them with military delays. Then he ordered a report sent to the emperor. Arrived safely, preparing to obliterate Nahachu. Oh, and by the way, that Zhuing kid? Absolute beast. Write that down. I mean, hearing my name come out of the Grand General's mouth like that, not gonna lie, felt pretty good. But I wasn't there to enjoy it. Because meanwhile, deep inside Jurchen territory, my scout Lu Lei came galloping up screaming about enemy cavalry 3 miles behind us, tracking our hoof prints. How many? I asked. Less than 5,000. Good news. My earlier trick of stomping fake trails east and west actually confused them, so they split up. Bad news. They're still coming. And probably calling for backup. I did the math. The Jurchens have maybe 20,000 cavalry total for their whole tribe. They're not going to send everything. They still need to guard their homeland. So this group? Manageable. I looked at my officers. We kill them all. Who's with me? To the death. Commander. Music to my ears. I climbed onto my horse and gave the speech. Boys, we ate well, we slept well, but we're in enemy territory. One mistake, and we're all dead. The only way home is through them. You with me? To the death. For 1,000 voices. One answer. Chills. I set up the formation, wounded soldiers in the back, everyone else in attack position with bows drawn, fanning out around me. We waited. Then I heard it. The thunder of hooves. Here they came. Leather armor, long spears, fury in their eyes. Their commander spotted us and started screaming about how we slaughtered their people and burned their camps. Yeah, buddy, guilty as charged. He sent scouts racing back to call reinforcements. Cute. They think they can surround us. I pulled out my treasure-carved bow. 5 arrows. Knocked them all at once. With nearly 1,000 gene of raw strength, drawing it to full moon was like pulling a rubber band. They charged closer. 90 steps. 80. 70. Not yet. 60. 50. Not yet. Under 100 steps. Kill. My voice exploded across the northern wasteland like actual thunder. 5 arrows flew. 5 riders in the front row didn't even have time to blink before their leather armor got Swiss cheesed, and they tumbled off their horses like ragdolls. 20 strength. 20 constitution. 20. The stat notifications started rolling in like a slot machine hitting jackpot. 4,000 bows sang behind me. Welcome to the north, boys. Class is in session. 1 bow. 5 arrows. 5 dead. Every single time. My treasure-carved bow doesn't care about your armor. Leather armor? Paper. Heavy armor? Slightly thicker paper. With nearly 1,000 gene of strength behind each shot, I could probably pierce a mountain and the mountain would apologize. The moment my first volley hit, 4,000 Ming soldiers behind me let loose. The sky literally went dark with arrows, like someone turned off the sun and replaced it with pointy death. The Jurchens came charging and screaming about how their warriors fear nothing. Cool story, bro, fear nothing. Live through nothing. Same energy, different outcome. Their commander was in the back hollering, charge. Kill them all. Anyone who retreats gets executed. Classic middle management. Big threats, safe distance. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there like an archery machine. Pull. Knock 5. Release. 5 dead. Pull. Knock 5. Release. 5 more dead. Repeat until bored. 20 strength. 40 days lifespan. 20 strength. My stat screen was going berserk. It looked like a stock ticker during a bull market. Then they crossed 50 steps. Close enough. 1st Battalion. Charge. Everyone else. Keep shooting. I put away the bow, pulled out my steel saber, and kicked my horse forward. Arrows rained down on me from above, and I just swatted them out of the air with my blade. Like flies. Annoying, pointy flies. Zhang Wu screamed, "Follow the commander!" and 1,000 cavalry surged behind me like a tidal wave. By the time we actually collided with the enemy, our arrows had already dropped nearly 1,000 of them. We'd been sitting pretty in formation while they charged uphill into a wall of death. Tactics, baby. Tactics. And then the melee started. My first swing, horizontal slash. For riders in front of me tried to block. Their weapons snapped like chopsticks. For heads launched into the air simultaneously. Their horses kept running. Their bodies stayed in the saddles. Their heads, taking a solo vacation. 20 strength, 20 speed. I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. Every swing was death. Every thrust was a kill. I plowed straight into the center of their formation like a human cannonball made of knives. My soldiers were screaming behind me. The commander is invincible. He's like a god of war. He's Xiang Yu reborn, Xiang Yu. The legendary Hegemon king who could fight 10,000 men alone. Look, I'm not saying they're right, but I'm also not saying they're wrong. 5,000 to 6,000 Jurchens versus my 4,000, and we were the ones steamrolling them. Their attack formation crumbled the second we hit. They went from, "Kill the Ming dogs," to, "Please stop killing us," real fast. Then I spotted it. The enemy commander's banner. Found you. I carved a straight line through their rear guard. Dozens of my personal guards followed, but honestly, they were just there for the scenery. The Jurchen commander saw me coming and his face went through every shade of white that exists. But he had nowhere to run, so he raised his saber and charged at me. Brave. Stupid, but brave. Our blades met. Crack. His saber snapped in half like a twig. He stared at the broken handle in his hand with the most defeated expression I've ever seen on a human face. "That it's over." "Yeah, buddy. It really is. One swing. Head off. Clean. Killed Jurchen 5,000 commander. All stats 50. 50 across the board. That's the premium loot drop right there." I grabbed his head mid-air with my left hand, didn't even let it hit the ground, and hooked it on my belt like a grocery bag. Then I cut down his flag bearer. Man and flag. One stroke. Brothers. Their commander is dead. And oh, prisoners. My voice thundered across the battlefield. The commander is invincible. He fights like 10,000 men. Xiang Yu reborn. The Jurchens heard it too. Their commander's head was dangling from my waist, and their battle flag was in the dirt. You could literally watch the fight drain out of them like water from a broken cup. "We're done. The general is dead. Where are the reinforcements?" "Run. Ruin. They scattered like roaches when you flipped the lights on." Did I let them go? Absolutely not. I dove back into the slaughter, swinging my saber until my stat notifications blurred together into one continuous stream of dopamine. 20 strength, 20 spirit, 50 days lifespan. And then the cherry on top. Total kills exceed 500. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. 500 personal kills in one battle. I got a loot box for it. Like a loyalty rewards program for violence. Welcome to the Zhu Ying experience. No refunds. No survivors. Half an hour. That's all it took. Half an hour and the battlefield looked like a horror painting. Bodies everywhere. Loose horses wandering around confused. And my 4,000 Ming soldiers standing in the middle of it all, breathing heavy, covered head to toe in blood like we just walked through a car wash that used red paint. All stats break 800. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. All stats break 900. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. Double milestone in one fight. I personally killed at least 200 guys. Probably more. I lost count somewhere around the point where swinging my saber became less, combat, and more, mowing the lawn. 900 across the board now. 1,000 is right there. I can practically taste it. What happens at 1,000? Do I evolve? Do I grow a second pair of arms? Do I get a legendary chest instead of these budget normal ones? The suspense is killing me. Unlike these Jurchens, who I killed first. But I snapped out of my stat high real quick when I saw some of my boys still chasing fleeing enemies into the distance. Don't chase a cornered enemy. Classic Sun Tzu. Also classic common sense. We're deep in their territory. Chasing stragglers into God knows where is how you end up as a cautionary tale in a military textbook. Then I looked around at the dead. Not just theirs. Ours too. Listen up. Treat the wounded. The fallen brothers. Put them on horses and tie them down. I don't care how inconvenient it is. We are not leaving a single one of our dead in this cursed land. I could already imagine what these savages would do to our fallen soldiers' bodies. Nope, not happening. Not on my watch. I promise, alive or dead, I'm bringing every single one of you home. The way my soldiers looked at me after that, it changed. It wasn't just respect anymore. It wasn't just fear of my ridiculous combat power. It was something deeper. Like they finally understood that I wasn't just a killing machine. I actually cared about every last one of them. We follow the commander to the Yendi for 1,000 voices. My chest actually hurt a little, in the good way. All right, emotional moment over. Back to logistics. Zhongwu, Wei Quan, grab every single Jurchen horse. That's 3,000 to 4,000 free horses just standing around. We take them all. We can rotate mounts and move faster. Also, strip every arrow off these corpses. We're not a wealthy kingdom out here, boys. We're scavengers. If it's sharp and it flies, it goes in our quiver. 1 incense stick of time. That's all we've got before their reinforcements show up. Move. Oh, and watch out for the ones playing dead. You see a corpse blink? Stab first. Ask questions never. Everyone scrambled. Horses rounded up. Arrows collected. Wounded patched. Dead brothers gently placed on horses and secured with rope. I stood there for a second, looking at my blood-soaked armor, and had one of those weird reflective moments. 5 months. That's all it's been since I joined the army. 5 months ago, I was nobody. Now I'm an acting garrison commander leading 4,000 cavalry on a rampage through enemy territory with stats approaching 1,000. If I survive this raid, the acting part of my title goes away for sure. And as long as I keep wrecking Jurchen cavalry like this, the promotions will just keep coming. But first, get the boys home alive. We ride north. Move out. We thundered away with our extra horses in tow, leaving behind nothing but a field of Jurchen corpses and broken dreams. And here's the beautiful part. Less than 1 incense stick after we left, their reinforcements arrived. Thousands of Jurchen cavalry rolled up to find a slaughterhouse. Just bodies. Their bodies. Their 10,000-man commander stared at the carnage and asked the one survivor how many Ming soldiers did this. The trembling survivor, a 1,000-man officer who probably needed new pants, stammered out. 7 or 8,000. At least 7 or 8,000. My guy, I had 4,000. This poor dude was so traumatized he literally doubled our numbers in his head. Their commander is a demon. He doesn't fear arrows. He doesn't fear blades. Hundreds of our warriors died to him alone. The Jurchen commander told him to shut up. Fair. Then someone brought over their own captured battle flag and said, The Ming army wrote something on it. The commander grabbed it and stared at the Chinese characters he couldn't read. Does anyone here read Chinese? One guy ran forward. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Before we left, I wrote them a little message on their own flag. Call it a business card. A Yelp review. Hey, wish you were here. Postcard from the Zhu Ying experience. What did it say? Well, that's a cliffhanger, isn't it? So you want to know what I wrote on their flag? One day I will ride into your tribal capital, take your chieftain's head, and wipe your entire tribe off the map. Tell your boss to wait for me. Yeah, I left a death threat on their own battle flag. Signed, sealed, delivered. Like a pizza order from hell. And apparently the Jurchen 10,000-man commander read it and completely lost his mind. Started screaming, chase them. I want them in pieces. Good luck with that, buddy. I've got a head start and 3,000 extra horses. Meanwhile, back in civilization, my favorite cowardly Tao was having the worst day of his life. He was sitting in camp, totally relaxed, telling his vice commanders, relax guys. I wrote the report perfectly. Zhu Ying was reckless, took his men to die. I saved MY soldiers by pulling back. What's anyone going to do about it? Then the messenger from Governor Buwan showed up. Li Tao put on his best brown-nosing face and knelt for the official order. And the order said, Chen Hu Li Tao, for disobeying superior orders, deserting the battlefield, and being a coward, is hereby stripped of his rank and demoted to common foot soldier. His 2 vice commanders? Demoted too. His entire unit? Reassigned to someone else. Li Tao's face went through the 5 stages of grief in about 3 seconds. But why? I didn't desert. Zhu Ying told me I could leave. He was leading everyone to their deaths. The messenger looked at him like he was something stuck to the bottom of a shoe. Deaths? Zhu Ying's force broke through the Jurchen northern camp, killed 10,000. Every single one of his other battalion commanders followed him and earned glory. You were the only one who ran. 5 battalions went in. 4 came back heroes. 1 came back a joke. Guess which one you are. You are a disgrace to the Ming military. Then the messenger literally threw the official order at Li Tao's face and walked away without another word. Beautiful. Absolute cinema. I wish I could have been there to see his face. The man went from 1,000-man commander to private. That's not a demotion. That's a speed run to the bottom. And the best part? Li Tao's standing there thinking, that snake Zhu Ying set you up? Bro, I literally gave you a chance to fight, earn glory, and go home a hero. You chose to run. I even said we'd call it, even if you just harassed the southern camp a little. You couldn't even do that properly. This is a you problem, my guy. But sure, blame me. Add it to the list of people who hate me. I'll file it under people whose opinions don't matter because they're now privates. Anyway, back in the frozen north, night fell. We'd managed to shake the Jurchen pursuit by doing something genius. We released over 1,000 captured horses and drove them east and west, creating hoofprint chaos everywhere. The Jurchens were out there chasing ghost trails through the wilderness like dogs following laser pointers. My officers gathered around the campfire, and for the first time since this insane raid began, everyone was actually smiling. Zhang Wu reported we'd lost the pursuers completely. Then the compliments started flowing. Commander, we all thought this was a suicide mission. Now look at us, alive, victorious, and the Jurchens are the ones running scared. I'll be honest, when I first saw how young you were, I thought you'd get us killed. But now, if anyone talks trash about you in front of me, I'm slapping the taste out of their mouth. I like that one. Noted. Promoted in my heart. Then Wei Quan gave me the casualty report from our cavalry battle. Enemy killed, at least 4,000. Our dead, 257. Our wounded, 480. 4,000 to 257. That's not a battle, that's a ratio. That's the kind of K/D that gets you banned from online games for hacking. And everyone knew why the numbers were so lopsided. Because yours truly charged straight into the enemy's center, killed their commander, cut down their flag, and broke their will to fight before the real damage even started. If the general doesn't fear death, the soldiers won't cling to life. And that is an unbeatable army. I said that when I was just a 1,000-man officer. Now my soldiers quote it back to me like scripture. Combined with the raid on their camp, we've killed somewhere around 14,000 Jurchens in a few days with 4,000 cavalry. And by pulling the entire Jurchen army into chasing US, we've prevented them from reinforcing the Yuan army attacking Daning. Grand General Feng Sheng wanted a distraction? I gave him a catastrophe. All right, boys. We shook them off. Get some real sleep tonight. What about the watch, Commander? I'll take it. All of it. You all rest. They looked at me like I'd said something crazy. But I meant it. These men fought like lions today. The least I can do is let them sleep while I sit under the stars and guard their dreams. Besides, my stats are at 900 across every category. I literally don't get tired like a normal human anymore. So here I am, sitting by a dying campfire in enemy territory, surrounded by sleeping soldiers who trust me with their lives, sharpening my saber under moonlight. 1,000 points is coming. I can feel it. And when it does, the Jurchens won't need my flag message to know I'm coming. They'll hear me from across the continent. My officers tried to argue about the night watch thing. Commander, you fought so hard today, let US guard. Did I stutter? That was an order. You've all been sleeping less than 1 hour a night for days. This whole fake trail trick was specifically so you could rest. Now shut up and go to sleep before I make you. They snapped to attention real quick. Yes, Commander. Then Wei Quan asked the question everyone was thinking. Shouldn't we report this victory to headquarters? For 1,000 enemy kills. Thousands of captured horses. A crippled Jurchen cavalry force. Yeah, that's a juicy report. But I shook my head. We report after we finish off the rest of their pursuit force. Translation, the receipt isn't ready yet. Still adding items to the tab. They were practically vibrating with excitement as they walked away. These guys went from, we're all gonna die, to, we're unstoppable, in the span of a few days. Love that energy. Once everyone was asleep, I pulled out my captured Jurchen map and studied it under the moonlight. Their tribal capital is further north. Once I deal with the remaining pursuit cavalry, I'm going straight for it. Even if I can't completely wreck it, I can cause enough chaos that these Jurchens will never be able to send reinforcements to the Yuan army. And by my math, Fengsheng's main force of 200,000 should be arriving at Daning right about now. The big counterattack is coming. And I've already done my part. Pulled the entire Jurchen military into a wild goose chase after me instead of helping their allies. You're welcome, Grand General. Then I remembered something important. Oh wait, I've got 3 treasure chests I haven't opened. 3 normal chests, all stacked up from my kill milestones and stat breakthroughs. I've been so busy murdering people I forgot to check my loot. Open all 3. The system lit up. Chest 1, yellow grade lower. Bodyguard inner armor. Chest 2, yellow grade middle. Charge power slash. Chest 3, yellow grade lower. Premium hemostatic powder. X10 bottles, all graded items. Not a single dud. That's like pulling 3 rare cards in a row from a gacha game. My luck stat isn't even on the panel, but it's clearly cracked. Let's go through the haul. First, the hemostatic powder. In this era, you know what kills most soldiers? Not the sword that cuts them. Not the arrow that hits them. It's the bleeding afterward. You pull an arrow out, and the wound won't stop gushing. You get slashed by a saber, and there's nothing to close it up. We brought bandages and herbs. Sure, but it's never enough. I called Lu Lei over. Take 5 bottles. Use them on the wounded brothers who can't stop bleeding. This stuff works miracles. But be stingy. 5 bottles is all we've got. I kept the other 5 for emergencies. If this powder works the way graded items usually do, it could save lives that would have been lost for sure. Please work. Please. Second, charge power slash. I extracted the skill and it downloaded directly into my brain like a martial arts software update. Here's what it does. Channel all your body's power into a single strike. At beginner level, double your force. Intermediate, triple. Mastery, 5 times. Let me do the math real quick. My strength is currently over 1,000 gene. Double that is 2,000. That's like getting hit by a small car. At full mastery, 5,000 gene in one swing. That's not a sword technique. That's a natural disaster disguised as a knife attack. If I'm ever truly cornered, surrounded, outnumbered, facing a general who's actually strong, I just charge up and deliver one single strike that hits like a meteor. The ultimate, get out of death free, card. Third, the inner armor. I pulled it out, and it was this flexible chainmail type vest made of. I don't even know what material. Not iron. Not leather. Something the system cooked up. I took my saber and tried to scratch it. Nothing. Not even a mark. This thing goes under my regular armor. So even if an arrow punches through my outer plate, it hits this and goes. Nope. Sorry. Closed for business. I stripped off my blood-crusted armor right there. Glamorous, I know. Peeled off my clothes. The moonlight was very flattering. And put on the inner armor. Then everything back on top. Look, I know I've been acting like an invincible war god. But let me be crystal clear. I am terrified of dying. This world has siege crossbows, ballistas, and cannons. One lucky shot, and my 1,000-point stats mean nothing. I have exactly 1 life. No respawns. No save files. So yeah, I'm wearing the magic bulletproof vest. Pride can take a seat. Feeling cozy in my new armor, I pulled up my stat panel for a nice bedtime read. Host. Zhuing age. 14 strength. 1,145. That's over 1,000 gene of raw force. Speed. 1,023. 10 times faster than a normal human. Constitution. 932. 9 times tougher. Heals 9 times faster. Endurance. 912. 9 times the stamina. Basically never tired. Spirit. 923. Brain running at 9 times clarity. Lifespan. 88 years, 3,956 days storage space. 9 cubic meters strength and speed already past 1,000. Constitution, endurance, and spirit knocking on the door. I'm 14 years old. 14. Most kids my age are worried about homework. I'm sitting in enemy territory wearing magic armor, carrying a technique that lets me punch with the force of 5,000 gene, leading 4,000 blood-soaked cavalrymen, and planning to raid a tribal capital. I closed the panel, leaned back against a rock, and stared at the stars. Tomorrow we hunt. Quiet night. Stars above. Soldiers snoring around me like a symphony of exhausted warriors. I pulled up my stat panel one more time because honestly, it's addictive. Like checking your bank account after payday, except instead of money, it's raw superhuman power. All stats approaching 1,000. One more good fight, and I'm there. And the lifespan. I've collected over 10 extra years just from killing people. My original destiny was 88 years. Now, 98 and climbing. At this rate, I'll outlive everyone. You know that old turtle Sima E from the Three Kingdoms? The guy who literally won by just outliving all his rivals? Yeah, I could out-turtle him now. Immortality speedrun, in progress. I stood up and looked around at my sleeping brothers. Every one of them leaning against their horses, dead to the world. Days of running and fighting with barely an hour of sleep per night. They're not superhuman stat freaks like me. They're just brave, stubborn, beautiful idiots who followed a 14-year-old into hell. I hope I can bring all of you home. That thought hit different at 2 a.m. in enemy territory. I shook it off and went to patrol the perimeter. Someone's got to keep watch, and the guy with 900 endurance points doesn't exactly get sleepy. Meanwhile, and I didn't know this at the time, but I'm telling you because it's juicy, back in Beiping, my favorite family of rich backstabbers was having a lovely little meeting. The Shen family. Shen Wansan, the richest man in all of Ming Dynasty China, and his son Shen Rong. Father, we can't find the girl. She left. And Zhu Ying's butler is gone too. They probably went to find him. Humph. Daning Prefecture is enormous. She'll never find him. And if she dies out there, nothing to do with us. Oh, how sweet. They raised an adopted girl, and now they're hoping she dies in the wilderness. Real family values right there. Then Shen Rong delivered the good news. Father, there's a war in Daning. The border army is fighting the Jurchens and the Yuan. And Zhu Ying is just a nobody. Can't read, can't fight. He's definitely going to die on the battlefield. Can't fight. Can't fight. This man just said I can't fight. I have personally killed over 500 enemies in the last week. My strength stat is 1100. I cut a cavalry commander's head off mid-gallop and caught it in the air. But sure, can't fight. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Shen Rong. And if he somehow survives, Shen Rong continued with a smirk, we've sent people to Daning with his military records. We'll find ways to make him. Not survive. Assassination squad. They're literally sending hitmen after me. Because a 14-year-old orphan is apparently that threatening to the richest family in China. Then old man Shen dropped the real reason behind all this scheming. Turns out the Shen family is playing 4D chess with marriages. 2 daughters married to Huaishi noble families. Now they're marrying a 4th daughter to the mother's clan of the future crown princess. Both sides. Imperial connections and military aristocracy. And that is why Zhu Ying must die, Shen Wansan said, stroking his beard like every villain in every story ever. Our family's wealth means nothing without power. And power comes from marriage alliances. We sacrifice whatever we must for the family's prosperity. Cool motive. Still murder. I have no idea what connection I have to these people or why they want me dead so badly. Something about my grandmother having some mysterious background and some girl they adopted being a hidden danger to their family. Filed under. Problems for future Zhu Ying when he's done killing thousands of people in the frozen north. Now, back to the part where I'm the one doing the scheming. A few days passed. More running, more skirmishing, more guerrilla warfare. Hit and run. Kill a patrol here, ambush a scout group there. When the big forces showed up, I pulled back. When they spread thin, I struck. But the whole time, I was planning. See, I'd been deliberately leaving breadcrumbs. Hoofprints here. Campfire ashes there. Just enough tracks to keep the Jurchen pursuit force following me like a dog chasing a laser pointer. And I led them straight to a spot I'd been scouting. A low basin surrounded by hills. From below, you can't see anything above the ridgeline. But from above, it's a shooting gallery. My scouts came galloping in. Commander, Jurchen cavalry, 4 miles out. 1 instant stick until arrival. Perfect. I split my force into 4 battalions, hidden on both sides of the hills overlooking the basin. Every soldier had an arrow knocked. Every eye was on the gap where the enemy would come pouring through. Brothers, this spot right here, this is the graveyard I picked out for them. When they walk into this basin, they walk into their coffin. The second they enter, rain arrows. No mercy, no warning. Yes, Commander, for 1,000 blood-soaked warriors vanished behind the ridgelines like ghosts. From below, you'd see nothing but peaceful hills and an empty valley. This was the whole plan. 4 days I'd been running, leaving trails, acting like a desperate fleeing army. And the Jurchens bought it completely. They thought they were the hunters. Surprise, idiots. You're the prey. If I wipe out this pursuit force, the Jurchens lose their remaining cavalry. No cavalry means they can't chase me. Can't chase me means I can go anywhere in their territory. Their tribal capital. Their supply lines. Their everything. I stood at the top of the ridge, treasure-carved bow in hand, staring down at the empty basin below. Come on in, boys. The water's fine. The beautiful thing about being chased for days? Your enemy stops thinking. These Jurchens had been riding after us for so long, watching us flee in panic, that they'd completely bought the act. In their heads, we were terrified, disorganized, running for our lives. Exactly what I wanted them to think. Their 10,000-man commander, some guy named Minaha, was literally screaming at his troops to ride faster. We'll catch these Ming dogs. I've already sent word to the Red Flag tribe ahead to block their escape. We'll crush them between us. Great plan, buddy. Really solid strategy. Just one tiny problem. You're riding into my kill box. 6,000 Jurchen cavalry came thundering toward the basin. One of their 1,000-man officers actually had a functioning brain cell and said, "Hey, this low ground looks kinda. Ambush why?" And Minaha basically told him to shut up because they're running scared. This is still our territory. What could go wrong? Everything. Everything could go wrong. And it's about to. They poured into the basin. Half their army was already climbing up through the gap. I stood on the ridge, invisible, watching them file in like ants marching into a cup. My treasure-carved bow was drawn. One arrow. Not 5 this time. Just one. Because I only needed one. I found him, the 10,000-man commander in his iron armor, riding under his battle flag, barking orders like he owned the place. Die, one arrow. One whisper. One missile launched from above. The arrow punched through his iron chest plate like it was made of wet cardboard. The impact literally launched him off his horse. He hit the ground, and before his own soldiers could even process what happened, their horses trampled right over his body. Killed Jurchen 10,000-man commander. All stats 100. 100. Across the board. That's the jackpot. That's the legendary drop. That's hitting a home run, a hole-in-one, and a royal flush all at the same time. The instant my arrow flew, 4,000 Ming soldiers opened up from the ridgelines on both sides. The sky turned black with arrows. Jurchens started dropping like dominoes. But here's the genius part. I'd ordered my archers to target the rear first. Why? Because dead horses and dead riders in the back create a wall. A wall of corpses blocking their only escape route. You're not running. You're not retreating. You're staying. 1st, 2nd, and 4th battalions, with me. 5th battalion, stay on the high ground and keep shooting. I kicked my horse and charged straight down into the basin, saber raised, screaming like a demon who just got 100 stat points for breakfast. 3,000 cavalry followed me without a second of hesitation. We've done this dance enough times now. They know the steps. Step 1, follow the crazy teenage commander. Step 2, kill everything he points at. Step 3, collect military glory. The Jurchens were in complete chaos. Their commander was dead in the first second. Arrows raining from above. Escape route blocked by their own dead. And now a screaming horde of Ming cavalry was crashing into them from the front. We're ambushed. Retreat. Retria, we can't retreat. The Red Flag tribe is sending help. Just hold on. Hold on to what? Half of US are already dead. I carved into them like a hot knife through butter that was also on fire and also screaming. 20 strength. 20 constitution. 50 lifespan. The notifications were a blur. I stopped reading them individually. It was just a continuous scroll of murder rewards, like a receipt printer that won't stop. Every swing of my saber dead. Every thrust dead. I was the eye of a hurricane made entirely of sharp metal and bad decisions for anyone near me. My soldiers behind me were feasting. With the enemy leaderless, trapped, and panicking, it wasn't a battle anymore. It was a harvest. 1 hour. That's all it took. 1 hour. 6,000 Jurchen cavalry reduced to scattered corpses across the basin floor. The few survivors were huddled together, surrounded, begging. Spare US. Please, we surrender. Mercy. I looked at them. I thought about it for roughly 0 seconds. No prisoners. Cold? Maybe. But we're deep in enemy territory with no way to guard prisoners. And these are the same guys who were screaming about turning us into mincemeat 30 minutes ago. Mercy is a luxury for home territory. My soldiers moved in. Quick. Clean. Done. Wei Quan came running up, practically glowing with excitement. Commander, only 700 or 800 escaped. The rest, all dead. Let me do the math on this entire northern campaign. Night raid on their camp. 10,000 killed. First cavalry battle, 4,000 killed. This ambush, 5,000 plus killed. That's roughly 19,000 Jurchens eliminated, with 4,000 soldiers. In about 2 weeks, their entire cavalry force, the mobile military backbone of the whole tribe, is gone. Finished. Deleted. Uninstalled. They can't chase me anymore. They can't reinforce the Yuan army. They can't do anything except sit in their camps and pray I don't come knocking, which I absolutely will, because their tribal capital is next on my shopping list. My soldiers were staring at me with the kind of look usually reserved for religious icons. 2 weeks ago, half of them thought I was leading them to die. Now they'd follow me into a volcano if I asked nicely. We've been a knife buried in the enemy's guts for over 10 days now. And with every twist, they bleed more. Time to twist harder. First things first, housekeeping. Save the wounded. Count the dead. Grab every single horse. 5th Battalion stays on the hill as lookout because there's a Jurchen tribe nearby, and even without cavalry they could send foot soldiers. Oh, and stab every corpse on the ground. If it twitches, it wasn't dead enough. My officers snap to it like they were spring-loaded. At this point, they don't even question my orders. I say jump. They ask, off which cliff and onto which enemy. Then I address the troops. Brothers, after today, this entire northern wasteland is our playground. Their cavalry is gone. Finished. They can't chase us anymore. We ride wherever we want, whenever we want, and they can only watch. Commander is invincible. We follow you to the death. For 1,000 blood-drenched maniacs screaming my name in enemy territory. If someone painted this scene, art critics would say it was too dramatic to be realistic. Lu Lei asked if we should send a pigeon to headquarters with the battle results. After the casualty count, I want the full picture first. Smart kid, that Lu Lei. He gave up being a 100-man officer to become my personal guard captain, and I could see in his eyes that he was very pleased with that career choice. Back then it looked like a demotion. Now, he's riding shotgun with the most successful commander in the entire northern campaign. When I get promoted, and I will, he moves up too. Bet on the right horse, folks. Sometimes literally. Now, the important stuff. Congratulations, host. All stats have broken 1,000. Reward. Tier 1 treasure chest X1. Not a normal chest this time. A tier 1 chest. We've been upgraded. The loot box has evolved. I've graduated from the dollar store gacha to the premium gacha. I pulled up my stat panel and almost fell off my horse. Host. Zhuing age. 14 inner breath. 0 weight. What is this strength? 1,445 speed. 1,323 constitution. 1,062 endurance. 1,032 spirit. 1,023 lifespan. 88 years 5,956 days storage space. 19 cubic meters martial art. Iron body technique new. Stat. Unlocked. Inner breath. As an internal energy. As in the stuff from every martial arts novel I read in my past life. Breaking 1,000 across all stats wasn't just a number milestone. It was a transformation. My body leveled up from really strong human to baby martial artist. The system literally said, Wujira Neishi, warrior's inner breath. So what comes after inner breath? Probably true QI. And after that, actual kung fu movie nonsense? Flying on swords? Punching mountains? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. One step at a time. But the road is there. Also, my storage space doubled from 9 to 19 cubic meters. That's a whole walk-in closet of invisible pocket dimension. I immediately started stuffing it with arrows from the dead Jurchens because waste not, want not. Speaking of dead Jurchens, thousands of them spread across this basin like a grotesque carpet. And what does a responsible stat farmer do when surrounded by thousands of uncollected corpses? Harvest time, baby. I hopped off my horse and started touching bodies. 1 strength. 1 speed. 5 days lifespan. Wait. 1? Just 1 point. It used to be 5 from corpses. And kills used to give 20. Now they're giving 10. Then it hit me. My stats crossed 1,000. The system nerfed my gains because I'm too high level now. These regular Jurchen soldiers are basically the tutorial slimes of this world. Killing level 1 mobs when you're level 100 doesn't give good XP. That's just basic RPG economics. Annoying? Sure. But you know what? 1 point is still 1 point. A mosquito is tiny, but it's still meat. I am not above grinding. So there I was. The terror of the northern frontier. Slayer of 10,000-man commanders. Wielder of the legendary treasure, carved bow. Walking through a field of corpses, squatting down, tapping each one like I was playing the world's most morbid game of duck, duck, goose. Tap 1 strength. Tap 1 speed. Tap 1 constitution. My guards saw me walking among the dead and assumed I was doing final checks, so Lu Lei shouted, "Follow the commander. Make sure none of these dogs are faking." And suddenly 20 guys were walking behind me stabbing corpses while I secretly collected stat points. Perfect cover. Beautiful teamwork. They have no idea they're my farming assistants. Then something new dropped. 1 inner breath. 1 inner breath. 1 inner breath. The moment those points hit, I felt it, a warm current blooming in my lower belly, right where the Dantian is. It flowed through my meridians like a tiny river of warm energy. I could feel it. I could move it. I could guide it through my body with my mind. This is real. Internal energy is real. I'm not just strong anymore. I'm becoming an actual martial artist. The kind from the stories. The kind who can do impossible things. My past life. Read hundreds of wuxia novels on my phone. Thought it was all fantasy. My current life? Squatting over dead bodies, absorbing their life force to build my internal energy cultivation. Reality is wilder than fiction. I picked up the pace. Tap, 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 tap. 1 point here, 1 point there. An inner breath point every few bodies. My soldiers probably thought I was the most thorough commander in military history, personally inspecting every single enemy casualty. Nope, just a stat goblin doing what stat goblins do. Squat, touch, collect, repeat. The grind never stops. Now I wasn't there for this part, obviously. I was busy squatting over dead bodies in the frozen north collecting stat points like a psychopath. But apparently, back in the imperial capital, I was becoming famous. Picture this, Nanjing, the greatest city in the world. The Fengtian Hall, the biggest, most important room in the entire Ming dynasty. Every top official in the empire standing in their fancy red robes. Crown Prince Zhu Biao looking all regal and commanding on the steps. And Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang himself sitting on the dragon throne. Regular Tuesday for them. The finance minister reported that the first batch of supplies had reached Daning. Enough food for 200,000 soldiers for 6 months. The military minister confirmed that all troops had assembled and Grand General Feng Sheng had taken command. Everything was going smooth. The emperor was relaxed. Zhu Biao was smiling. "Father, just sit back and wait for good news. Feng Sheng's got this. You think I'm worried? Nahachu, the Yuan remnants? Please. We're not the tiny Ming dynasty from 20 years ago, and they're not the mighty Yuan Empire anymore. Classic emperor energy. I could beat them with my eyes closed, but I'm sending 23,000 troops anyway because I'm thorough." Then the messenger burst in. Urgent military report from Daning. Every eye in the hall snapped to attention. Zhu Biao chuckled. Must be Feng Sheng reporting his battle plans. The emperor opened the report casually, probably expecting boring logistics updates. His face froze. Zhuing. Again with this Zhuing. The entire Fengtian Hall heard it. Every minister, every general, every official, all staring at the emperor wondering who this Zhuing was and why the emperor of China just said my name like I owed him money. The ones who remembered me from last month were whispering. Isn't that the border soldier who killed 100 men? What did he do now? If it wasn't a major achievement, a common soldier's name wouldn't reach the Fengtian Hall twice. Whatever he did must be huge. Feng Sheng personally approved this report going to the emperor. The Grand General doesn't forward paperwork for small things, but most of the officials, they didn't care. I was just a soldier. A nobody. In their world of imperial politics and court power, some random kid killing barbarians up north was about as interesting as watching paint dry. Oh, you sweet summer politicians. You have no idea what's coming. The emperor's face broke into a massive grin. He turned to the crown prince. Son, Our Ming dynasty has produced a young military genius. Zhu Biao raised an eyebrow. He must have done something incredible to make you this happy. The emperor practically threw the report at his head eunuch. Yin Qi, read it. Read it to everyone. Let the whole court hear what our empire's new warrior has done. The eunuch took the report, walked to the top of the stairs, faced the entire assembly of China's most powerful people, and began reading in that loud, official court voice. From your servant Feng Sheng, to His Majesty the Emperor and His Highness the Crown Prince, your servant has arrived at Huizhou City. All forces assembled, 230,000 troops total. The Yuan army under Nahachu attacked with tens of thousands, but was held back by Daning's border forces. Now that the main army has arrived, the Yuan forces have retreated to defensive positions. Your servant is preparing the counterattack. Standard stuff so far. But then, among the border forces, there is one exceptional commander named Zhu Ying. When the main army was still half a month away, and both the Yuan army and the Jianzhou Jurchens were attacking, Daning's 50,000 border troops could not hold alone. Zhu Ying proposed a split force strategy, 10,000 troops to raid Yuan-controlled Liaodong, while he personally led 4,000 cavalry deep into Jurchen territory to pin down the entire Jurchen nation. In nearly a month behind enemy lines, Zhu Ying first destroyed the Jurchen Blue Flag tribe, killing 10,000. Subsequently, the Jurchen's entire cavalry force of over 10,000 riders was annihilated by Zhu Ying's 4,000. And that's where the chapter cuts off, but I can imagine the room. Every jaw on the floor, every eye the size of dinner plates. The finance minister dropping his little counting board. Some general in the back, choking on his own spit. 4,000 soldiers. Enemy territory. Nearly a month. Over 20,000 enemy kills. Entire tribal cavalry destroyed. And the guy who did it? 14 years old. Started as a common soldier 5 months ago. I bet the emperor's smile could have lit up the whole palace. Meanwhile, back in the frozen north, the protagonist of this incredible report was crouched over a dead Jurchen, tapping corpses for 1 stat points, completely unaware that his name was echoing through the halls of imperial power. Tap 1 strength. Celebrity? What celebrity? I've got grinding to do. So while I was out there playing Corpse Tap Simulator in the frozen wasteland, apparently back in the imperial court my war report was breaking brains. The eunuch finished reading Feng Sheng's report, and the whole Fengtian hall went silent. Then the whispers started. And oh boy, were they good. 4,000 troops. Deep into enemy territory. Only lost less than 1,000. Killed tens of thousands. How is that even possible? The Jianzhou Jurchens have 1 million people. Nearly 100,000 soldiers. And this kid just deleted their cavalry with 4,000 men. He destroyed their Blue Flag tribe. Then wiped out their entire remaining cavalry force. Over 10,000 riders. With troops he'd already been fighting with for weeks. How? Someone explain to me how. Nobody could explain it. Because let's be honest, even I can barely explain it. Step 1. Be absurdly overpowered. Step 2. Be smarter than every enemy commander you face. Step 3. Have a cheat system that makes you stronger with every kill. Step 4. Profit. But they don't know about Step 3. To them, I'm just a 14-year-old military savant who materialized out of nowhere. Some of the sharper ministers were piecing it together. He targeted their cavalry first. Without cavalry, they can't chase his mounted forces. Then he had free rein to ride wherever he wanted in their territory. Brilliant strategy, yeah. Yeah, it was. Thank you for noticing. I appreciate the analysis, Mr. Court official who's never held a sword. Then the emperor turned to his son with the biggest dad smile in Chinese history. So, son, what do you think of this Zhu Ying, Crown Prince Zhu Biao, the most powerful heir in the world, the man who basically co-runs the empire? Looked at his father and said, he is the finest young commander our dynasty has produced. The best among the new generation. The best of the new generation. The crown prince of the Ming dynasty just said that about me. The entire court immediately understood the subtext. See, the military was dominated by the Huaishi generals, the old guard who helped found the dynasty. The emperor and the crown prince had been looking for talented commanders outside that power block. And I just fell into their laps like a gift from heaven. I wasn't just a war hero. I was a political asset. Grand Scholar Song Na stepped forward. Your Majesty. Zhu Ying risked his life in enemy territory to protect Daning from a two-front attack. This is a great merit. He deserves a great reward. Seconded. We agree. Heavy rewards. Every minister in the hall suddenly had the exact same opinion. Funny how that works when the emperor is smiling and the crown prince is nodding. Then Zhu Yuanzhang looked at his son again. So what reward do you think he deserves? And Zhu Biao dropped the bomb. I believe he should be granted a noble title. The entire court gasped. A noble title. Not just a promotion. Not just some gold. A title of nobility. The thing that 90% of the officials in that room would kill for and will never get. The thing that separates regular people from the aristocracy. The thing that changes your family's destiny forever. What title? The emperor asked, still smiling like a cat who caught the fattest mouse. Hereditary County Baron. Hereditary. Meaning it passes to my children. And their children. And their children. My bloodline becomes nobility permanently. County Baron, Shannon, is technically the lowest noble rank. Below it there's nothing. Above it there's County Viscount, then Earl, then Marquis, then Duke. But with hereditary attached, that's not a consolation prize. That's a golden ticket. And here's the kicker I didn't know at the time. This rank was about to be abolished in a few years. The court would eliminate the lower noble ranks to make the higher ones more prestigious, which means I literally caught the last train. If my war report had arrived a few years later, no title. But right now, hereditary nobility, baby. What do the ministers think of the crown prince's proposal? The emperor asked the court. Asked is generous. His tone said, agree or I'll find out where you live. The crown prince is wise. We fully agree. Brilliant decision, Your Highness. Not a single objection. Because disagreeing with Zhu Biao means disagreeing with Zhu Yuanzhang, and disagreeing with Zhu Yuanzhang means your entire family tree gets a surprise pruning. So there it was. Unanimous. Official. Done. Zhu Ying, former orphan, former common soldier, currently a blood-covered 14-year-old crouching over corpses in enemy territory, was about to become a hereditary noble of the Ming dynasty. 5 months ago, I was nobody. Now I have a noble title that will outlive my grandchildren. And I had absolutely no idea any of this was happening. At that exact moment, I was probably touching my 400th dead Jurchen going, one speed, one inner breath, one strength, like the world's most dedicated stat goblin. Nobility can wait. The grind cannot. So the emperor made it official. Boom. Done. Decree signed. Zhu Ying, for risking his life, killing tens of thousands, pinning down the enemy, and serving his nation with great merit, is hereby promoted to full garrison commander, awarded 100 gold, and granted the hereditary noble title of County Baron, with an additional 100 gold. Hereditary. County Baron. I'm nobility now. My kids will be nobility. My kids' kids will be nobility. My entire bloodline just got a permanent upgrade, and I was literally picking stat points off dead bodies when it happened. 200 gold on top of it. Not that I care about the money. I've got a magic storage space full of stolen Jurchen arrows and horse gear, but it's the principle. The Emperor of China reached into his pocket for me. After court ended, the Emperor and Crown Prince had a private father-son chat. And apparently, I found this out much later, Zhu Biao had been keeping tabs on me since the first time my name reached the court. I had the Ministry of War pull his records, Zhu Biao told his dad. He's 16 on paper. A true young talent. And he's useful. The Crown Prince called me useful. In politics, that word is worth more than brilliant or heroic. Useful means they have plans for me. And what plans? Well, the Huaishi generals, the founding military clique, were getting too arrogant, too powerful, too independent. The emperor couldn't remove them because they were too good at fighting. And Zhu Biao could keep them in line with sheer presence. But he needed his own people. Fresh talent. Commanders loyal to him, not to the old boy network. Enter me, the 14-year-old war machine with no political connections, no factional loyalty, and a track record of doing impossible things on the battlefield. I was being groomed as a counterweight to the most powerful military faction in China. And I had zero idea. I was probably sharpening my saber and going, one inner breath. Nice. The emperor looked at his son with pure fatherly pride. I believe in you, son. You'll take this dynasty further than I ever could. Historical footnote that makes my stomach twist. In the timeline I know from my past life, Zhu Biao dies of illness. And when he dies, the emperor goes on a purge. Kills the Huaishi generals, burns down the whole power structure, all because his grandson Zhu Yunwen can't control them like Zhu Biao could. But that's the old timeline. I'm here now. Maybe things go different this time. Meanwhile, because this story has more subplots than a soap opera, over at the Liu family mansion, something very relevant to the Shun family was happening. Liu Ben, the Minister of Rights, father of Crown Prince Zhu Biao's secondary consort, grandfather of Zhu Yunwen, basically one of the most politically connected men in the empire. His eldest son, Liu Hao, came running and waving a gift registry. Father, the Shun family sent the dowry, 10,000 gold, over 100 chests of treasure, 100 servants. All this for what? A concubine. The Shin family was buying their daughter a spot as a concubine in the Liu household. Not even a proper wife. A concubine. And they paid enough to buy a small city for the privilege. Liu Bin barely looked up. Just pick a day and let her in. No need for a big ceremony. But shouldn't we invite some guests? It's a concubine. From a merchant family. We're doing them the favor by letting their daughter through our door. Cold. But that's how this era works. Merchants are the lowest rung of society. You can have all the money in the world and officials will still look at you like something they scraped off their shoe. The Shin family was essentially paying the Liu family to become in-laws. And the Liu family was taking the money while making it crystal clear they were slumming it. Remember, this is the same Shin family that wants me dead. They're sending assassins after a 14-year-old orphan because I'm somehow a threat to their grand plan of marrying into imperial connections on all sides. Then Liu Hao asked something interesting. Father, who is this Zhuing that got the emperor and crown prince so excited today? They gave him a hereditary noble title. Even you don't have a noble title, Liu Bin shot his son a death glare. You dare question the emperor's decision and the crown prince's judgment. Liu Hao slapped himself in the face. Twice. I misspoke. Forgive me. Then Liu Bin's expression shifted to that classic old fox stroking his beard look. Actually, this is good for our family. How? Who are the most powerful military commanders in the empire? The Huaishi generals. And the emperor hates how arrogant they've become. The crown prince keeps them in check, but the emperor wants alternatives. New blood. Commanders outside the Huaishi faction. This Zhu Ying, he's a new piece on the board. The emperor is building up non-Huaishi military talent. And anything that weakens the Huaishi grip on the army benefits us. Because, and that's where the chapter cuts off, but the implication is clear. The Liu family sees me as a useful pawn in the big political chess game. The Huaishi generals get weaker, the crown prince's position gets stronger, and since the Liu family is tied to the crown prince through marriage, everyone's plotting, everyone's scheming, everyone sees me as a piece on their board. The Shin family wants me dead. The Liu family thinks my rise is politically convenient. The emperor sees me as a future weapon against the old guard. The crown prince is already making plans. And me? What do I think about all this intricate political maneuvering? I don't, because I don't know about any of it. I'm in a frozen wasteland going tap, tap, tap on dead guys. One strength, one inner breath, 5 days lifespan. The grind doesn't care about politics. So while I was out there living my best corpse-tapping life, the entire political machine of the Ming dynasty was spinning because of me. Back at the Liu mansion, old fox Liu Bin was finishing his little political science lecture to his son. The Huaishi generals are too flashy. Too much edge, not enough discretion. The emperor has wanted to build up non-Huaishi commanders for years, but nobody good enough has appeared. Until now. Translation. I'm the shiny new toy that both the emperor and the crown prince want to play with because their old toys are getting too uppity. Liu Hao was practically drooling. That Lan Yu guy doesn't even respect my sister. Calls Yunwen a bastard born, right in front of his own subordinates. Ah yes, Lan Yu. The most arrogant of the Huaishi generals. Apparently, he goes around trash-talking the crown prince's consort and her son to anyone who'll listen. Real smart move, buddy. Real smart. Liu Bin stroked his beard with that classic, I've been playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, expression. Just watch and wait. Follow the emperor's will. Your sister holds the Eastern Palace. Yunwen is the eldest son. The future throne is Ours. We just need to not be stupid, like Hu Weiyong, Liu Hao asked. Exactly like Hu Weiyong. The man had everything. Power, connections, an entire political faction. And where is he now? Dead. Because he forgot who sits on the dragon throne. Lesson learned. Don't be Hueyo. Got it. Meanwhile, at Huizhou City, the actual war was finally kicking into gear. The city walls were covered in battle scars, arrow holes, cannon blast marks. The Yuan army had thrown 50,000 troops at those walls with everything they had, including fire cannons. Yeah, this era already has gunpowder artillery. Fun times. But the Daning border troops held every single day until the main army arrived. Then the Yuan forces took one look at 230,000 Ming soldiers rolling up and went, nope, and retreated faster than a cat off a hot stove. Grand General Feng Sheng was now calling the shots. And boy did those Huaishi generals want to fight. Lan Yu, it's time. Let's move. Chang Mao, we should have attacked yesterday. They're running scared. Fu Yud, being the only professional adult in the room. Troops are reorganized, sir. 20 divisions split into 2 corps, ready on your command. Feng Sheng thought for a moment, then issued orders. 1 cavalry unit of 10,000 to scout ahead. Lan Yu takes his corps toward Liaodong. Fu Yud takes the other 10 divisions on a flanking route. Nahachu has nearly 200,000 troops and at least 100 cannons defending Liaodong. Do not underestimate him, Feng Sheng warned. 300 cannons on the Ming side versus 100 on Nahachu's. That's not just a numbers advantage. That's, I brought a bazooka to your knife fight, energy. Then Feng Sheng said something that made my ears burn across time and space. If Daning held long enough for our main army to arrive, it's because of Zhu Weijinji. Without his few thousand cavalry pinning down the Jurchens, the border army would have faced a 2-front attack. They wouldn't have lasted a month, Bawan nodded. We know, sir. But he's still out there in the north somewhere. We told him his mission was done once the main army arrived, and he could pull back anytime. But we have no idea where he is. Finding him in those endless northern plains would be like finding a needle in the ocean, Feng Sheng sighed. I'm out there somewhere in the frozen wasteland, and the highest-ranking general in the empire is worried about me. That's either very touching or very concerning. Then a messenger arrived from the capital. Feng Sheng read the dispatch. His eyebrows shot up. Well. Zhu Ying has caught the emperor's and the crown prince's eye. He turned to the room. Imperial decree. Zhu Ying is granted the hereditary title of county baron. Buwan's jaw nearly hit the floor. A noble title? An actual hereditary noble title? The imperial envoy is already on the road to deliver the decree personally, the guard captain added. Feng Sheng smiled and shook his head. 16 years old and already ennobled. That's a first in Ming dynasty history. A first. The youngest person ever to receive a hereditary noble title in the entire Ming dynasty. And where was this unprecedented historical figure at that exact moment? Squatting. In the snow. Touching a dead guy's boot. One endurance. The youngest noble in Chinese history, ladies and gentlemen. Still grinding. 1 month deep in enemy territory. 1 month. We don't even look like soldiers anymore. We look like something a nightmare threw up. Every single one of us is caked in dried blood. We reek like a butcher shop in summer. Our armor is more red-brown than its original color, and we've got this permanent wild-eyed look that says, I've killed more people this month than you've met in your life. We're basically 3,000 armed hobos on horses. The wildest ride in the north. Today was tribe number 15. 15. I've hit 15 separate Jurchen settlements in 1 month. At this point, I'm basically doing a world tour, except instead of concerts, it's massacres. We rolled up to this small tribe, surrounded it, and my boys moved with a precision that was honestly beautiful. No orders needed anymore. Wei Quan just rode up and said, 500 killed, Commander, like he was giving me a weather report. Sunny skies, 500 dead, light breeze from the east. I looked at the remaining Jurchens, women, children, old folks, all huddled together, terrified, staring at us with a mix of horror and hatred. War is ugly. I know that. But I also know what these people's warriors did to Chinese villages for decades. The burning, the killing, the things they did to women and children that I won't even describe. So no, I don't feel guilty. Standard procedure. Anyone taller than a cartwheel, gone. That's their own rule, by the way. The northern tribes invented this method. Kill every male tall enough to potentially be a fighter. They used it on us first. For generations. I'm just returning the male descender. My soldiers pulled out a cart, lined people up, measured. Quick. Efficient. A few hundred more bodies on the ground. Then I tossed Lu Lei my special laxative powder. Yeah, laxative. The system gave me this ridiculously powerful stuff, and I've been spiking their water supplies. Every tribe we hit, their surviving population spends the next week on the toilet instead of doing anything useful. Chemical warfare? No. Digestive warfare. Much funnier. Burn the food stores. Everything we can't carry, destroy. Flames rose behind us as we rode away. Another tribe's supplies turned to ash. Another settlement knocked back to the Stone Age. Oh, and the horses. We've collected so many captured war horses that our 3,000 soldiers are traveling with nearly 10,000 horses. 3 horses per person plus extras. We swap mounts constantly, so we're always riding fresh while anyone chasing us is riding the same exhausted animal. This is why the Jurchens can't catch me. I'm playing horse leapfrog across their entire homeland. And speaking of chasing, exactly half an hour after we left, the Jurchen commander Agunu showed up with over 10,000 infantry. Always half an hour too late. This has been happening for weeks. Curse you, Zhu Weijinji, he screamed at the smoking ruins. This is the 15th tribe. His officers were practically in tears. Sir, we've lost over 10,000 civilians now. Their cavalry is gone. We can't catch mounted troops with foot soldiers. And the Yuan army can't send help because the Ming main force is attacking them now. We're alone. Keep chasing. I'll tear Zhu Ying apart with my bare hands. Good luck, buddy. I've got 10,000 horses and you've got legs. I'll send you a postcard. Meanwhile, riding north, my troops were in the best mood I've ever seen. 15 tribes, commander. 15. Ha ha. Zhuang Wei was carrying 15 captured tribal banners on his horse like trophy flags. I told him to save every single one. Those are official war trophies back in the Ming Dynasty. Proof of conquest. Each one is worth military merit points. Zhang Wu was yelling at the troops. Don't lose those ERS, boys. Every pair of ears is a ticket to a promotion when we get home. I've got 30 pairs, one soldier shouted. Only 15 here, another groaned. Huh. Following the commander is the best decision I've made in 6 years of military service. I've never killed this many enemies in my life. I'm following Commander Zhu forever. Me too. And me. Wherever the commander goes, I go. Don't leave US behind. Commander. 3,000 battle-hardened lunatics, pledging their eternal loyalty to me while galloping across enemy territory covered in blood and ear trophies. This is the most terrifying fan club in human history. I grinned and shouted back, brothers, you trust me, and I'll never betray that trust. I charge first in every battle. I will never hide behind you, and I will never abandon a single one of you. To the death, commander. To the death. Absolute loyalty. The kind money can't buy. The kind that only forms when you've bled together, starved together, and killed together for weeks on end in a frozen Hell's Cape with no backup and no way home except through the enemy. These aren't just soldiers anymore. They're my soldiers. Every last filthy, stinking, blood-soaked one of them. Half hour more riding. Then we rest. Yes, commander, night fell. No tents. No barracks. Just campfires in the darkness. 3,000 warriors sitting on the frozen ground eating dry biscuits and drinking water. No beds. No roofs. No hot meals. Just us, the stars, and the distant sound of an enemy commander screaming my name into the void. Crunch, crunch, this dry biscuit tastes like victory. I gathered my officers around the campfire and laid it on them straight. Boys, we've been out here almost a month. The main Ming army should be in Daning by now. Our mission? Technically complete. Wei Quan got emotional. Commander, when we first stayed behind, I thought we were dead men walking. I was wrong. You've led us to the greatest military achievement of our lives. Everyone was nodding, getting all sentimental. Very touching, very heartwarming. So naturally I chose that exact moment to say, great. Now who wants to do something insane before we go home? Dead silence. Everyone's staring at me. That we follow you to the death, commander. That's my boys. I pulled out the Jurchen map I'd looted off that dead commander weeks ago and spread it on the ground. You know how we've been hitting small tribes nonstop? 15 of them. You think that was random? More silence. Gears turning behind bloodshot eyes. Zhang Wu figured it out first. Smart man. Future famous general material right there. You were drawing their forces out. Every tribe we hit, they had to scatter troops to protect the others and send search parties after us. Their army is spread thin across the entire region now, which means their tribal capital has almost nobody guarding it. I finished with the biggest, nastiest grin. The look on their faces, pure disbelief melting into pure excitement. We're raiding the capital tonight. It's 40 miles from here. 1 hour at full gallop. We ride under cover of darkness, hit them at dawn, and we do exactly what we did to that first tribe. Charge straight through. Kill everything. Burn everything. Steal everything. Don't stop moving. Punch out the other side and ride east toward home. And those 10,000 extra horses we've been dragging around, all of them join the charge. 10,000 horses thundering into their capital at dawn. They won't know if we're 3,000 or 30,000. I watch the idea sink into each of their skulls like a beautiful, terrible seed. After this, I bring you all home. Yes, Commander. They scattered to spread the word. 2 hours of rest. Then we ride for the biggest gamble of this entire campaign. I lay down on the frozen ground and pulled up my stat panel for a pre-battle checkup. Host, Zhu Ying age, 14 inner breath, 456 strength, 1,685, nearly a full ton of force per punch, speed, 1,523, 15 times faster than a normal human, constitution, 1,362, 13 times tougher, endurance, 1,332, 13 times more stamina, spirit, 1,263, can sense killing intent within a kilometer, lifespan, 112 years, 210 days storage, 19 cubic meters martial art, iron body technique. Let me just absorb these numbers for a second. My strength is 1,685. That's 1,685 Jin of raw force. If I punched the legendary Xiang Yu, the Hegemon King himself, the greatest warrior in Chinese history, he would need dental work. My speed is 15 times normal. I move so fast that by the time a regular person blinks, I've already killed them and moved on to their friend. My spirit stat now lets me sense killing intent within 1,000 meters. I'm basically a walking radar system. Nobody can sneak up on me. Nobody can ambush me. I'll feel them wanting to stab me before they even think about reaching for their weapon. And lifespan, 112 years. I started at 88. I've added 24 years just from killing people and touching dead bodies. At this rate, immortality isn't a dream, it's a calendar issue. Inner breath at 456? That warm energy in my dantian isn't a trickle anymore, it's a river. I can push it through my meridians, reinforce my body, boost my strikes. I'm not just a strong guy anymore. I'm becoming a genuine martial artist. The wuxia novel kind. The kind that makes normal people question reality. 1 month of non-stop killing has turned me from very dangerous teenager into walking natural disaster. Then I remembered something. Oh wait, I've got boxes, 1 normal treasure chest, 1 tier, 1 chest, just sitting in my inventory this whole time because I've been too busy committing genocide to check my loot. A month of unchecked treasure chests. This is like forgetting to open your birthday presents until Christmas. Open all chests. The system lit up, and that's where we stop. Because of course it's a cliffhanger right before the loot reveal. The universe has a sixth sense of dramatic timing. But I'll tell you what, whatever's in those chests better be good. Because in 2 hours, I'm charging 3,000 blood-soaked psychopaths and 10,000 screaming horses straight into a tribal capital. If that's not worth at least an epic grade drop, the system's loot table is rigged. Open all chests. Loot time. Normal chest. Yellow grade lower. Green rainbow sword. Green rainbow sword. As in the green rainbow sword. As in CAO's legendary blade from the Three Kingdoms era. The sword that belonged to the greatest warlord in Chinese history just popped out of my budget loot box like a prize from a cereal box. Graded weapon though, so definitely quality. I pulled it out, gave it a look. Beautiful craftsmanship, perfect balance. But honestly, my 2 steel sabers are still getting the job done, and I'm not about to switch weapons before the biggest raid of my career. Into storage you go, pretty sword. Your time will come. Tier, 1 chest, profound grade upper, heart protection pill, wait. Profound grade? Upper? The ranking goes yellow profound, earth heaven. I just pulled something from the second highest tier category. From a tier, 1 chest. That's like buying a scratch ticket and winning a car. What does it do? Preserves the heart meridian of a dying person, maintains life force, induces deep sleep while gradually restoring vitality. So basically, it's a save file. You're about to die? Pop this pill. Your body goes into hibernation mode while it repairs itself. It doesn't heal you. It stops you from dying long enough to heal naturally. Not useful for me right now, but in a world without hospitals, this is literal divine medicine. If someone takes a fatal wound, this pill says, nah, not today, death. Come back later. I tucked it into my storage space. That pill might save someone's life someday. Maybe mine. Maybe someone I care about. Either way, priceless. Now, while I was lying on frozen ground opening loot boxes, let me tell you what was happening at the Jurchen tribal capital. Because it's hilarious. Their chieftain, Ahachu, was having a meltdown. Commander Aganu, the poor fool who'd been chasing me for weeks, was kneeling on the floor getting absolutely roasted. This is your result? 20 tribes destroyed. Thousands of our people slaughtered. Their livestock burned. Their water supplies poisoned. Yeah, about that water thing, you're welcome. My laxative powder sends its regards. You had 30,000 soldiers guarding Blue Flag Tribe, 10,000 cavalry for pursuit, and you lost them all. Our entire cavalry gone. We can only watch as they slaughter our people. Agunu was trembling on the ground. I deserve death. Yes, you do. Then Agunu pulled out the survival card. But please, chieftain, give me one more chance. Let me kill Zhuing first, then execute me. I can't face our dead without revenge. Dramatic. Desperate. Effective. Ahachu's expression softened just enough. Fine. What's your plan? I've spread our 40,000 remaining troops across every surviving tribe. Patrol perimeters around each one. The moment the Ming army attacks any settlement, we collapse the net from all sides. 40,000 soldiers forming a complete encirclement. Even cavalry can't escape. 40,000 troops, spread across the entire territory, protecting individual settlements. Oh, Agunu. Sweet, stupid Agunu. You just pulled soldiers away from your capital to guard the small tribes. Exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I've been engineering for an entire month. While you're busy wrapping every village in a protective blanket of soldiers, your capital is sitting there with nothing but the chieftain's 2,000 personal guards. And I'm 40 miles away, pointing at your capital on a map, saying, we ride at midnight. It's beautiful. It's like I'm playing chess, and they're playing, hit the mole that keeps smashing our stuff. Every move they make is a reaction to me. They're not thinking. They're panicking. Then they try to figure out who I am. Their intelligence report? He's a Ming border commander. He appeared recently. His surname is Zhu, so maybe he's related to the Ming royal family? That would explain why he's so strong. That's your intelligence? My last name. I'm strong because I might be related to the emperor? Buddy, the emperor is a 60-year-old man who rules from a throne. I'm a 14-year-old killing machine powered by a stat system and sheer audacity. We are not the same. Their spy network is basically useless because, and this is the funniest part, they all wear braids. They can't infiltrate Han Chinese society because their HAIRSTYLE gives them away. Every Jurchen scout who tries to sneak into Ming territory basically has a sign on their head saying, I'm a spy. Finally, one brave officer suggested the obvious. Chieftain, maybe we should consider surrendering to the Ming. Ahachu nearly had a stroke. Surrender? We serve the Yuan. The Yuan Empire is powerful. They would destroy us if we betrayed them. The Yuan Empire. The same Yuan Empire that just got chased out of Daning by Ming forces and is currently being hunted by 230,000 soldiers. That Yuan Empire. Very powerful. Much scary. Definitely not collapsing as we speak. But Ahachu is too afraid to see reality. He's been living under Yuan domination so long he can't imagine a world without it. Even as the Ming dynasty kicks down every door on the continent, this man is still clinging to his abuser like a security blanket. Whatever. His political delusions aren't my problem. His capital, however, is very much my business. 2 hours of sleep. Then we ride. 40 miles. 10,000 horses. 3,000 warriors. And a tribal capital with barely any defenders. Check, please. 2 hours of sleep. Eyes open. Game time. We crept through the darkness like 3,000 ghosts riding 10,000 shadows. Every horse's hooves muffled. Every soldier silent. We moved in small groups, trickling toward the target from different angles so the scouts wouldn't notice one massive army approaching. Wei Quan whispered the report. "Commander, all troops in position. Enemy hasn't noticed us. We're 2 miles out." I stared at the Jurchen tribal capital through the darkness. Watchtowers with flickering torches. Hundreds of guards patrolling the perimeter. A wooden palisade wall with reinforced gates. Thousands of people sleeping inside, completely unaware that their worst nightmare was parked right outside. Everyone ready to die if we must, Commander. I gripped my treasure-carved bow and gave the order. "Release the horses. HYH. 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 My soldiers started whipping every riderless horse we had. All of them. Every captured Jurchen warhorse we'd collected over an entire month of raiding. 10,000 horses. They exploded forward like a living tsunami. The ground didn't just shake, it screamed. The sound of 20,000 hooves hitting frozen earth simultaneously is something you feel in your bones, in your teeth, in your soul. From the Jurchen watchtowers, all they could see was darkness moving. A wall of shadows stampeding toward them at full speed. In the dim torchlight, 10,000 horses looked like 10,000 cavalry, like an entire army descending upon them. Enemy attack. It's the Ming army. They're not at the tribes. They're here. They came for the capital. Warn the chieftain. Defensive positions. Pure. Unfiltered. Panic. Credit where it's due. Their elite guards were trained. They scrambled to positions fast. Archers climbed the watchtowers. Soldiers formed up behind the gates with spears and bows. They were ready. Fire. Arrows rained down into the stampede. Hundreds of horses screamed and stumbled as arrows pierced their flesh. But here's the thing about a wounded horse in a stampede. It doesn't stop. It can't stop. 10,000 animals running at full speed is a force of nature. A few hundred arrows are a mosquito bite to a tidal wave. The horses hit the gate. Boom. The entire palisade wall shuddered. Horses smashed into the wooden gates, into the fences, into the watchtower supports. Some died on impact. Others kept pushing. The ones behind trampled over the fallen ones and kept charging. The Jurchen soldiers behind the gate were pushing back with everything they had. Dozens of men bracing against wooden doors while 10,000 pounds of horse meat slammed into the other side every second. The fence is breaking. The gate can't hold. They're just horses. The Ming sent riderless horses. Yeah, they figured it out. Too late, though. Crash. The gate exploded inward. Wood splintered. Horses poured through the gap like water through a broken dam. The soldiers who'd been bracing the gate, trampled, flattened, gone. Their screams lasted about half a second before being drowned out by the thunder of hooves. My officers were watching from behind the stampede with their jaws hanging open. The commander is a genius. Those horses weren't just for riding. They were a battering ram. 10,000 horses equals the charging power of an entire army. The defenses are gone. The gates are open. That's right, boys. For an entire month, everyone thought I was collecting horses just for faster travel and mount rotation. Nope. I was building a weapon. 10,000 horses is a siege engine. You don't need a battering ram when you have a living avalanche. This is what happens when a guy with modern strategic thinking gets access to unlimited war horses and zero moral restrictions. Brothers, the gates are down. Charge, kill. 3,000 blood-soaked, feral, battle-crazed Ming cavalrymen surged forward through the gap in the shattered palisade, riding the wave of their own horse stampede straight into the heart of the Jurchen tribal capital. No walls left to stop us. No gate left to block us. Just chaos, screaming, and the sound of my saber clearing its sheath. Tonight, the Jurchen capital burns. 3,000 soldiers hitting with the force of 10,000. That's the Zhuing math, baby. It doesn't make sense until it does. Fire. I let loose with the treasure-carved bow, arcing arrows high over the stampede and into the capital. My soldiers followed suit, thousands of arrows raining down from behind the horse tsunami like the world's worst hailstorm. Inside the capital, it was apocalypse. Jurchens running in every direction, screaming, tripping over each other. The riderless horses were inside now, smashing through tents, trampling everything, kicking, biting, just going absolutely feral. 10,000 panicked warhorses loose in a wooden settlement is basically a blender set to max. 10 inner breath, 10 days lifespan. 10 strength, 15 days lifespan. Oh nice, new perk unlocked. Since my stats crossed 1,000, the system now gives me bonus lifespan on top of regular stat drops from every kill. It's like a loyalty program upgrade. Congratulations on your 10,000th murder. Enjoy complimentary immortality points with every purchase. Don't get bogged down. Straight through to the main tent. Kill their leaders, and it's real glory. Same playbook as before. Charge through, don't stop. Target the head of the snake. I was carving a path through the chaos, saber swinging non-stop, when my soldiers started throwing lit fire starters onto every tent they passed. Whoosh! The entire capital lit up like a birthday cake from hell. Tents made of animal hide and wood frames? Might as well be made of gasoline. Fire spread everywhere. The night sky turned orange. You could probably see this blaze from 50 miles away. Now picture being Chieftain Ahachu. You're in bed, sleeping peacefully. You sent your entire army out to trap the Ming forces at the outlying tribes. You gave away your last 2,000 cavalry. You're feeling pretty clever about your big trap plan. Then the ground starts shaking. Chieftain, the Ming army is attacking the capital. Impossible. They're dozens of miles away at the tribes. There are over 10,000 of them. Maybe more, 10,000. The poor guard saw 10,000 horses and assumed each one had a rider. My 3,000 soldiers just got tripled by sheer horse math. Agunu, you fool. You told me they only had a few thousand. Yeah, blame Agunu. Blame anyone. But maybe also blame yourself for sending your entire army away from your capital based on the assumption that I'd keep doing what I was doing. Rule number 1 of war: never assume your enemy is predictable, especially when that enemy is me. Ahachu grabbed his sword and ran outside in his pajamas. His remaining guards, a few thousand, formed up around him. They got horses ready. Retreat. Everyone mount up. We're leaving. Smart call. First smart thing he's done all month. Too bad it was about 30 seconds too late. Because the horse wave arrived. 10,000 stampeding war horses, driven forward by my soldiers from behind, crashed into the defenders around the chieftain's tent like a freight train hitting a lemonade stand. The Jurchen guards raised their spears. They formed a wall. They knocked arrows and fired. Brave. Adorable. Useless. You cannot stop 10,000 horses with a few thousand spearmen. You just can't. Physics doesn't allow it. The front horses die, the ones behind climb over them. Kill 100, 1,000 more are right behind. It's an ocean of muscle and hooves, and you are a SENECSDLE. We can't hold. Protect the chieftain. Shields up, get the torches. Horses fear fire. They tried fire. Smart. Animals do fear flames. A few hundred guards managed to huddle around Ahachu with shields and torches, creating a tiny bubble of safety in the middle of Horse Armageddon. The stampede parted slightly around the flames, like a river around a rock. Ahachu survived the stampede. Barely. His fancy robes were torn. His face was white as snow. Out of several thousand guards, maybe a few hundred were still standing. The rest were under horses, multiple horses, permanently. And here's where it gets really fun for me. Because the horse stampede, that was the appetizer. The main course was 3,000 blood-soaked Ming warriors riding through the aftermath with sabers drawn and murder in their eyes. Ahachu looked up from his little torch-protected huddle, saw us coming, and I could literally watch his soul try to leave his body. A few hundred guards with torches and shields. Against me. Oh, buddy, you should have run faster. In the chaos of the stampede aftermath, I heard it. Through the screaming, the fire, the thunder of hooves. I heard Jurchen soldiers screaming, "Protect the chieftain." My ears perked up like a dog hearing a treat bag. The chieftain. The chieftain. Ahachu himself. Right here. Not in some fortified bunker. Not surrounded by his army. His army was 50 miles away chasing my ghost trails thanks to Agunu's brilliant, spread out everywhere, strategy. And there he was. I spotted him instantly. The only guy not wearing leather armor. Nope. This man was in a fur coat. In the middle of an active military invasion. Standing in a circle of a few hundred guards holding torches and shields. Looking like he'd just seen his own grave open up and wave at him. Brothers. Kill them all. I charged straight at the defensive circle. The guards rushed out to meet me with long spears. Smart choice against cavalry, honestly. They'd learned. A month of me butchering their people, and they finally figured out the counterplay. Too bad the counterplay requires someone strong enough to actually use it. 7 spearmen lunged at me simultaneously. 7 spear tips aimed at my chest. One swing. 1. 7 heads launched into the air like a bouquet toss at the world's worst wedding. 10 inner breath, 10 days lifespan. 10 inner breath, 15 days lifespan. The stat notifications were just background music at this point. Elevator music for mass murder. I licked my lips. Bad habit, I know, but when you see a few hundred enemies standing between you and the biggest promotion of your career, you get a little excited. Kill him, Ahachu shrieked, pointing at me with a shaking finger. Someone kill him. His remaining guards, all few hundred, charged me at once. Bold. Stupid, but bold. Wild dance saber technique. My blade became a blur. In the time it takes a normal person to swing once, I swung 15 times. It didn't even look like sword fighting anymore. It looked like I was surrounded by a spinning tornado of razor-sharp light. 15 Jurchens hit the ground simultaneously, bleeding from cuts they never even saw coming. 10 inner breath. I kept going. Horse charging forward. Saber never stopping. 1, 2, 5, 10. Bodies dropping left and right like dominoes made of meat. My bodyguards were struggling behind me, not because they were losing fights, but because they literally couldn't keep up with my speed. I was 15 times faster than a normal human. My own guards were yelling, "Wait for US, Commander," while I was already 50 kills ahead of them. Poor guys. Assigned to protect a man who doesn't need protecting. The most useless bodyguard job in Chinese military history. Wei Quan, Zhang Wu, and the other officers hit the remaining guards from behind while I carved through the front. A few hundred Jurchens versus 3,000 Ming cavalry was. Well, it was math. Bad math. For the Jurchens. In seconds, I'd cut through the entire guard formation. And there he was. Ahachu, chief of the Jianzhou Jurchens. Standing maybe 10 feet away from me. Our eyes met. His were full of terror. Mine were full of promotion calculations. I could see the decision process on his face in real time. Fight or flight. He gripped his saber, looked at me, looked at the pile of bodies I'd just created, and immediately chose flight. He yanked his horse around and bolted. Running? Really? You're my war merit. If I let you escape, how am I supposed to get promoted? I slapped my horse and launched forward like a missile. My spirit stat, 1,263. Men, I could sense his killing intent, his fear, his exact position even in the dark. Running from me in a straight line was like a rabbit trying to outrun a bullet. He heard me coming. He turned his head. He saw my saber already mid-swing. And oh, that was his last word. Slice. Clean cut. Head separated from shoulders like it was designed that way. I caught it with my left hand before it even hit the ground. Didn't even slow my horse down. Just grabbed it, looked at it for half a second. Yep, that's a chieftain all right. Nice fur hat. And hooked it onto my belt next to that other commander's head from weeks ago. My belt is becoming a head collection at this point. I need a bigger belt. Killed Jianzhou Jurchen Chieftain Ahachu. All stats 200. Reward. Tier. 1 treasure chest x1, 200. Across. Every. Stat. That's the boss drop. That's the raid loot. That's the kind of reward that makes you understand why I rode 40 miles in the dark to attack a tribal capital with 3,000 men. Worth. Every. Mile. I stood up in my stirrups, channeled my inner breath into my throat, and roared across the burning capital. Today, I, Zhu Ying, have taken your chieftain's head. This is the price for invading Ming territory. Those who defy the might of the Ming shall be slain. My voice thundered across the settlement like actual lightning. Enhanced by 1,200 spirit and nearly 500 points of inner breath. It hit every corner of the burning capital. Every fleeing Jurchen heard it. Every hiding survivor heard it. The chieftain is dead. Zhu Ying killed the chieftain. Our tribe is finished. The sound of an entire civilization's morale shattering at 3 a.m. I looked down at the head hanging from my belt, still dripping. 5 months ago, I was a nobody. Now I've killed a chieftain, destroyed a tribal capital, and committed the Jurchen equivalent of burning down someone's house, killing their boss, and leaving a Yelp review that says, 1 star, would not invade Ming again. Not quite on the level of the legendary Feng Lang Su, the historical conquest that every Chinese general dreams of, but for a 14-year-old with 3,000 troops, this is pretty damn close. Now let's get the hell out of here before 40,000 angry Jurchens figure out what happened and come home. After I took Ahachu's head, my soldiers went nuclear. The morale boost was unreal. These guys were already fanatical, but watching me behead a tribal chieftain mid-gallop turned them into absolute berserkers. Commander is a god of war. Kill everything. And we did. We kept charging through the capital, slashing, burning, destroying. Every tent we passed got a fire starter thrown at it. Every supply depot went up in flames. Every grain store, every stable, every important-looking structure, torched. Am I being brutal? Yes. Do I care? Let me think about it. No. Because I know history. I know what happens when you show mercy to people who've been raiding and pillaging your borders for generations. They don't suddenly discover peace and friendship. They rest, rebuild, and come back. The only language they respect is the one spoken in steel and fire. You want them to never invade again. Make sure they can't. Make sure the memory of what happened keeps their grandchildren awake at night. Besides, they invented this exact treatment. Burning villages, killing men, destroying everything. They did it to countless Chinese settlements for decades. I'm just returning their own playbook with express delivery. And here's the long game nobody knows about. My lifespan is already 112 years and climbing. I might live for centuries, which means I have the time, the actual, literal time, to make sure certain dark chapters of history never happen. The invasions, the conquests, the massacres that I read about in my past life. With enough power and enough years, I can prevent all of it. But that's future stuff. Right now, burn baby burn. We punched clean through the capital in about an hour, right before dawn. By the time the sun came up, we were already gone, galloping east toward home with a chieftain's head on my belt and enough war trophies to open a museum. Behind us, a masterpiece of destruction. When the morning light hit the Jurchen capital, here's what the survivors saw. Fences obliterated. Every palisade wall smashed by 10,000 stampeding horses. Watchtowers wrecked, barely standing, riddled with damage. Tents, half burned to charcoal, the other half trampled flat. Bodies everywhere, crushed by horses, cut by sabers, burned in fires. The ground was more red than brown. And the crying. Oh, the crying. Women wailing over husbands. Children screaming for fathers. Old men staring at the ruins with hollow eyes. Also, fun detail, every soldier in my army hasn't cleaned their weapons in weeks. A month of killing with unwashed blades means every cut they inflicted was basically a biological weapon. In modern terms, tetanus city. Even the Jurchens who survived a sword wound were probably going to die from infection anyway. We didn't just destroy their capital. We salted the earth. Then, the best part. The part one wish I could have seen. A Gnu came riding back with his entire army. Tens of thousands of troops, all rushing to save the capital after getting word of the attack. Too late. Obviously. Always too late. That's a Gnu's whole character arc, arriving after the party's over and staring at the mess. He looked at the destroyed capital and froze. How? How did they? They were at the Red Flag tribe. How are they here? Oh, a Gnu. Sweet, predictable a Gnu. You set up your brilliant trap at the tribal settlements, spread your entire army across the countryside, left the capital with barely any defenders, and then, shocked Pikachu face. When I attacked the one place you didn't protect. I played you. For an entire month. Every tribe I raided, every trail I left, every panicked retreat. It was all to pull your forces away from here. You were the puppet. I was the hand. Then a blood-covered 100-man officer came stumbling out of the capital, crying. General Agunu, the chieftain Ahachu, was beheaded by the Ming General Zhu Ying. Agunu grabbed the man by the collar. Say that again. The chieftain is dead. Beheaded. His bodyguard, almost all killed. Less than 500 survived. Agunu stumbled backward like he'd been punched. His face cycled through terror, despair, grief, and finally the dawning realization that he was responsible. He'd pulled the army away. He'd left the capital exposed. He'd been played like a cheap instrument. He ran into the ruins. His officers followed. They found the chieftain's headless body surrounded by hundreds of kneeling, sobbing soldiers. No head, of course. That was on my belt, bouncing along as I rode east toward home with 3,000 howling warriors behind me. Somewhere in the smoking ruins of their world, Agunu stared at his chieftain's corpse and understood the truth that I'd been teaching his entire tribe for a month. You don't chase Zhuing. Zhuing chases you. And he always collects. Back at the Jurchen capital, Agunu was having a complete emotional breakdown. Threw himself on Ahachu's headless body and sobbed like a baby. Why didn't you protect him? He screamed at the surviving guards. Sir, they sent 10,000 horses at us. We had a few thousand men. We couldn't. Those were our horses. Our horses that Zhu Ying stole from us. Yeah? Let that sink in. I killed their cavalry, took their horses, then used those same horses as a battering ram to destroy their capital and kill their chieftain. Their own weapons turned against them. That's not just defeat, that's poetry. Agunu howled at the sky like a wounded wolf. Zhu Ying, my tribe will never rest until you're dead. Cool. Get in line, buddy. The Shin family called dibs on hating me first. Then reality hit. The chieftain is dead. Someone needs to lead. Agunu ordered a messenger to find first Prince Shijianu at the White Flag tribe to take over as the new chieftain. The Jianzhou Jurchens are officially broken. Capital destroyed. Chieftain beheaded. Most of their military scattered across the countryside guarding empty settlements from an enemy who was never coming. They have zero ability to threaten Ming borders anymore. Zero ability to help the Yuan army. Zero ability to do anything except pick up the pieces and cry. My job here? Done. And then some. 2 hours of hard riding east, and I finally called a halt. We were dozens of miles away from the capital. Even if the Jurchens wanted to chase us, which they couldn't, because I killed all their horses, they'd never catch up. Roll call. 1st Battalion. All present. 2nd Battalion. All present. 4th Battalion. All present. 5th Battalion. All present. Every single unit accounted for. Nobody left behind. Rest for 2 hours. Wounded get treatment. Everyone else, sleep. Then I sat down and pulled up my stat panel for the post-raid damage report. Host. Zhu Ying age. 14 inner breath. 898 strength. 1,985 speed. 1,723 constitution. 1,582 endurance. 1,552 spirit. 1,593 lifespan. 112 years. 3,212 days storage. 19 cubic meters strength. Almost. 2,000. 1,985 gene. That's basically a full metric ton. One more good fight, and my fist officially hits with the weight of a small car. Xiang Yu, Sun Tzu, Lu Bu, all amateurs compared to what I'm becoming. Inner breath jumped from 456 to 898. Nearly doubled in one battle. The tribal capital raid was an all-you-can-eat buffet for my stats. That 200 from Ahachu alone was a feast. My spirit hit 1,593, meaning my danger-sensing radar now covers everything within a kilometer. Nobody can sneak up on me. Nobody can ambush me. I'd feel a mosquito plotting against me from 3 blocks away. And lifespan? 112 years plus change. I've tacked on nearly 25 extra years of life just from this campaign. At this rate, I'll be attending my great-great-grandchildren's weddings and still looking fresh. Time to open the treasure chest from killing Ahachu. Open chest. Tier 1 chest. Yellow grade middle. Red coat cannon. Complete blueprints. I stared at the notification for a solid 5 seconds. The red coat cannon. The most advanced artillery piece of this ERA. The weapon that changed siege warfare forever. Complete. Blueprints. Every measurement. Every specification. Every engineering detail needed to build one. My first reaction? What the hell am I supposed to do with this right now? I'm a 14-year-old garrison commander serving under someone else's army. I can't exactly walk up to Grand General Feng Sheng and say, "Hey boss, I found these super advanced cannon blueprints in my magical invisible pocket dimension. Can we build some?" That's a one-way ticket to being investigated for witchcraft. This is a future investment. Filed away for later. Way later. Because here's the thing, and I haven't told anyone this. I don't plan to be a Ming Dynasty servant forever. The world is big. History is long. And I have a lifespan that's heading toward infinity. When the time is right, when I have enough power, enough territory, enough people, I'll carve out my own kingdom. Maybe in the south. Build it up. Develop technology. Wait for the right moment. And then, Cannons that go boom are very persuasive arguments for territorial expansion. But that's the long game. Right now, blueprints stored. Moving on, Lu Lei came running up, practically vibrating. Commander, the battle report is ready. Can we send it by carrier pigeon? Every officer was staring at me with puppy dog eyes. They knew what this report meant. Raiding a tribal capital, beheading a chieftain, destroying 20 settlements, annihilating an entire tribe's cavalry. This wasn't just a war report. This was a legend being written in real time. Send it. Lu Lei nearly tripped over himself running to the pigeon handler. When this report hits Daning, then Nanjing. Oh man, the court is going to lose its mind. Again. Then I told my officers the words they'd been waiting a month to hear. Boys, the Jurchens are finished. They'll never threaten the Ming border again. Their chieftain's head is on my belt, and their capital is a bonfire. After we rest, I'm taking you home. The look in their eyes. After over a month in enemy territory, sleeping on frozen ground, eating dry biscuits, fighting every single day, watching friends die, they were going home. Meanwhile, down at Liaodong, the main war was heating up. The Ming army had reached the Yuan fortress city of Kaiyuan. Hundreds of cannons lined up 300 paces from the walls. Boom, boom, boom. Solid iron cannonballs pummeling the city. Not explosive shells, mind you. Just big metal balls. This era's cannons shoot solid rounds that squash people like bugs, but don't actually explode. They're basically really angry bowling balls launched at supersonic speed. And sitting in my storage space? Blueprints for cannons that would make these current models look like toys. But that's a secret for another century. Right now, I've got a pigeon to send, a head on my belt, and 3,000 brothers who need to go home. Mission complete. War won. Legend cemented. Let's ride. Now while I was riding east toward home with a chieftain's head on my belt and the smuggest grin in northern Asia, the real war was kicking off at Kaiyuan City. Lan Yu, the arrogant Huaishi general everyone either loves or wants to strangle, had 10 divisions parked outside the Yuan fortress. And for 5 straight days, he'd been doing the same thing. Send troops forward, poke the defenses, pull back. Send troops, poke, pull back. The Yuan commander Halazan was on the walls going, "What is he doing? Is this an attack or a dance rehearsal?" His deputy was confused too. "Sir, they've been fake attacking for 5 days. What's the point?" Halazan sighed the sigh of a man who actually understood his opponent, because it's Lan Yu. He's good at cavalry battles, good at infantry battles, good at siege warfare. He's testing us, learning our positions, our response times, our cannon placements. Every fake attack is gathering intel. But sir, we have 100,000 defenders and plenty of supplies. You've never fought the Ming army. These aren't the weak Song dynasty soldiers. These men are battle-hardened veterans of 100 campaigns. And our Yuan Empire? Internal factions fighting each other. Weakened from within. We are not what we used to be. Halazan gets it. His deputy? Living in denial. Screaming about how the great Yuan will crush the Ming and retake China. Yeah, buddy, your empire got kicked out of the Central Plains by a peasant farmer turned emperor. The glory days are over. You just haven't accepted the breakup yet. Back at the Ming command tent, Grand General Feng Sheng was running the show. He told Lan Yu that General Fu Yud was already moving on Jinzhou from a flanking route. 2 armies, 2 cities. Whoever breaks through first gets top merit. Lan Yu's eyes lit up like someone just told him there was a sale on military glory. "Half a month, sir. I'll crack Kaiyuan in half a month." Then 2 other generals, Chang Mao and Hu Hai, practically tripped over each other volunteering for the vanguard. "I'll lead the assault." "No, I will." These Huaishi generals are like dogs fighting over a bone. Except the bone is, who gets to charge into cannon fire first. Absolutely insane. But also, exactly why the Ming dynasty doesn't lose wars. Lan Yu gave Chang Mao the vanguard, and Hu Hai second wave. Hu Hai looked like someone stole his birthday cake. Poor guy. Feng Sheng reminded everyone that the emperor had personally arranged 6 months of supplies for this campaign, and not to embarrass his majesty. Lan Yu pounded his chest. "I will not disappoint the emperor," though I learned later that Lan Yu was also fighting for his own reasons. Despite being arguably the best active general in the entire Ming military, his title was only Marquis, not Duke. He felt disrespected. This battle? This was his ticket to a promotion he believed he'd been owed for years. Ambition. It makes people do incredible things, also incredibly stupid things. But for now, ambition and the Ming army were pointed in the same direction, and that's bad news for the Yuan. Then, just as the War Council was wrapping up, a messenger burst in. Urgent. Carrier pigeon from the northern frontier. Addressed to Governor Bu Wan. Feng Sheng's face immediately brightened. He looked at Bu Wan with an expression that said, "Please tell me this is what I think it is, a carrier pigeon. From the north. From me. My battle report, the one about destroying the tribal capital, beheading Chieftain Ahachu, and demolishing the entire Jinzhou Jurchen military structure, had just landed on a tiny bamboo tube strapped to a bird's leg. And it was about to be opened in front of every major general in the Ming army. I wasn't there, obviously. I was somewhere in the northern plains, chewing on a dry biscuit, riding a stolen horse, wearing blood-crusted armor, with a severed head dangling from my waist like a really disturbing keychain. But my reputation was about to walk into that tent and sit down at the big boys' table. And trust me, when Lan Yu, the most arrogant general alive, reads what a 14-year-old did with 4,000 soldiers, that's going to leave a mark on his ego that no amount of siege warfare can fix. So my carrier pigeon arrived at the Ming army camp and apparently caused a scene. But one had to quickly explain to Feng Sheng, "Sir, Zhu Ying doesn't know you've taken over command. He's been in the wilderness for 2 months. He still thinks I'm the highest authority. That's why the pigeon came to me." Feng Sheng waved it off. "I don't care who the bird was addressed to. Open it." He took the bamboo tube, pulled out my battle report, and started reading. His face went through a journey. Calm, curious, surprised, shocked, jaw on the floor. "How is this possible?" Then he said the thing. "The thing. Is this Zhu Ying our dynasty's champion marquis?" Champion marquis. Huartz Yubing, the legendary teenage general of the Han dynasty who rode deep into barbarian territory with a small force and annihilated everything in his path. The most famous young military genius in all of Chinese history. And Feng Sheng, a founding general of the Ming dynasty, a man who's fought more battles than most people have eaten meals, just compared me to him. I mean, I wasn't there to hear it. But if I had been, I would have needed a moment. The tent erupted. He attacked their tribal capital with 3,000 men and beheaded their chieftain in enemy territory, completely alone, no reinforcements. The Jurchens have 1 million people, and he just walked in and killed their king. How? Every general in that tent, hardened veterans, career soldiers, men who'd fought in dozens of campaigns, was sitting there with their mouths open, trying to process what a 14-year-old had accomplished with a fraction of their resources. Then Lan Yu opened his mouth. Because of course he did. "Lucky," he snorted. "Just lucky. Give me those troops, and I'd have wiped out the entire tribe, not just raided the capital." The room went silent. Nobody responded. Because what do you say to a man whose ego is so large it has its own gravitational field? Feng Sheng glanced at Lan Yu, but didn't bother arguing. He knew Lan Yu. Arrogant, obnoxious, brilliant at fighting, terrible at being a human being. The poster child for why the emperor wanted non-Huaishi commanders. And there it was, the beautiful irony. Lan Yu was sitting outside Kaiyuan City after 5 days of probing attacks, having accomplished exactly nothing yet. Meanwhile, a teenager he'd just dismissed as lucky had single-handedly dismantled an entire tribal nation with 4,000 men in 1 month. Somewhere in the back of the tent, a man named Zhang Yu was watching all of this with very interested eyes. He was from the Beiping military, the army of the Prince of Yan, and his brain was spinning. This Zhu Ying, if he were part of our army, the prince's position would be strengthened enormously. What a shame he's not one of ours. Zhang Yu made a mental note. Tell the Prince of Yan everything about this Zhu Ying kid. Every detail, every achievement. The Prince of Yan, also known as Zhu Di, also known as the guy who eventually overthrows his nephew and becomes emperor. And Zhang Yu, his future right-hand general during that very rebellion. So now I've got the emperor watching me, the crown prince planning for me, the Shun family trying to kill me, the Liu family analyzing me, the grand general praising me, and the future usurper prince hearing about me through his spy network. I'm the most talked about 14-year-old on the continent, and I don't even know it. Back in the tent, Bu Wan was practically glowing. "Sir, this makes Daning's border army look incredible. Zhu Ying is our soldier. This reflects on all of us." Yeah, Bu Wan had figured out the game. Every time I win, he looks good. My glory is his glory. Suddenly, I'm not just a subordinate. I'm his golden goose. Fengsheng laughed. He may not be the champion marquis today, but with this kind of talent, this courage, this willingness to die for his country, he will be. Mark my words. Then he turned to his guard captain with the biggest smile. Urgent dispatch to the capital. Emperor's eyes. I'm writing this one personally. Detail every achievement of Daning Border Army Garrison Commander Zhu Ying. Another report. Another pigeon. Another flight south to Nanjing. My name was about to hit the Fengtian Hall for the third time. And Lan Yu? He was sitting there with a sour face, watching someone else steal the spotlight while he was stuck playing peekaboo with a fortress wall. Lucky, he muttered again. Sure, Lan Yu. Lucky that I'm smarter than your entire tribe of enemies. Lucky that I fight harder than your proudest veterans. Lucky that a 14-year-old nobody is doing in 1 month what your prestigious Huaishi generals haven't managed in 5 days. Must be nice being lucky. I'll send you a postcard from my hereditary noble estate. So apparently my battle report set off a chain reaction at the Ming army camp. Fengsheng was grinning ear to ear. His mission was to hold out for half a month. He stayed for over a month and came back with enough war trophies to fill a museum. When's this kid coming home? I want to meet him personally. Buwan was practically floating. He was 16 when he enlisted, sir. Almost 17 now. 17 and already accomplished more than generals twice his age. The future of our dynasty, right there. And that was when Lan Yu couldn't take it anymore. He stood up so fast his chair probably filed a complaint. Sir, I request permission to launch a night assault on Kaiyuan City tonight. I'll break the city in 10 days. 10 days. Down from the 15 he promised earlier. Because nothing motivates a narcissist like watching a teenager get more applause than him. Fengsheng saw right through it, but didn't care. Fine. Whoever breaks their city first, you or Fu Yud, gets top merit. I'll personally write the emperor about the winner. Lan Yu stormed out to go wage war fueled by pure spite. Which, honestly, might actually work. An insecure Lan Yu is a dangerous Lan Yu. Those Yuan defenders have no idea that the guy about to hit them just got emotionally upstaged by a kid, and he's going to take it out on their walls. After the war council cleared, Buwan had a private sit-down with his 2 deputy commanders, Chun Heng and Lu Zhen. And the mood was incredible. Gentlemen, Buwan smiled. How we feeling? Great, Chun Heng said. Daning Border Army has always been the forgettable middle child of Ming military commands. Beiping gets all the glory. We get nothing. But now, Zhu Ying has put us on the map. We fought the Yuan army to a standstill, and our boy went and beheaded a tribal chieftain in enemy territory. We're famous. His commanding ability is better than mine. Chun Heng added, completely unprompted. And I mean that. I couldn't have lasted 10 days doing what he did. Give him a rank of regional commander, commanding 10,000, and he'd deserve it. Hell, give him MY rank and he'd deserve that too. Lu Zhen nodded. When he first killed 100 men, I thought he was just a strong fighter. Now, he's a strategic genius. Leading 4,000 cavalry through enemy territory for a month, hitting targets, avoiding traps, keeping his losses minimal, and then pulling off a raid on their capital? If that were me, I'd have retreated within a week. These are 2 experienced military commanders openly admitting that a teenager is better than them. That's not flattery. That's fear mixed with respect. Then Buwan dropped a fun detail. The imperial envoy carrying my noble title decree was still at the camp, waiting. Apparently they'd been sitting there for weeks, because nobody could find me to deliver the title. The emperor's official representative was just hanging around, waiting for me to come back from my murder vacation. Imagine being that envoy. Sir, where's Zhu Ying? Oh, he's somewhere in the frozen north beheading tribal chieftains. Should be back. Eventually. Then Buwan got serious. He leaned in and lowered his voice. Listen carefully, both of you. While we're serving alongside the Huaishi generals, keep your distance. Military cooperation only. No personal friendships. No private meetings. No drinking buddies. Chun Heng caught on immediately. You're saying the emperor's patience with them is running thin. They're arrogant. Obnoxious. They flaunt their achievements like armor. The emperor has warned them multiple times, and they haven't changed one bit. How long do you think that lasts before the emperor's patience runs out? Today in the tent, when Zhu Ying's report came in, Lan Yu's first reaction was to dismiss it as luck and brag about how he could do better. That's who these people are. Getting close to them is painting a target on your own back. Besides, Buwan smirked, it's not like they'd accept you anyway. Huaishi is a closed club. Outsiders don't get in. Chun Hung and Lu Jin both bowed. Thank you for the warning, sir. This was some real political mentoring right here. Buwan basically told his subordinates, the Huaishi generals are a sinking ship with a fancy paint job. Don't board it. And he's right. I know the history. In the future, when Zhu Biao dies and the emperor decides the Huaishi generals are too dangerous for his weak grandson to handle, it's purge time. Lan Yu, his allies, his friends, anyone connected to him, all wiped out. Tens of thousands executed. Anyone who got too cozy with them, also dead. Buwan was basically handing out life insurance. Meanwhile, there I was, riding east. No idea about any of this political drama. No idea Feng Sheng compared me to Huatsubing. No idea an imperial envoy was sitting in a camp somewhere holding my noble title like a pizza delivery guy who can't find the address. Just me, 3,000 brothers, a stolen horse herd, and a severed head on my belt slowly going bad in the autumn air. We were going home. All right, so while I was riding home smelling like a slaughterhouse that caught fire, my name was being whispered in places I couldn't even imagine. First up, the Prince of Yan's private chambers. Zhu Di, the fourth prince. The man who, in the history I remember, eventually kicks his nephew off the throne and becomes the Yongle Emperor, one of the greatest rulers China ever produces. He was reading a secret intelligence report about me, and his reaction? 4,000 cavalry. Wiped out their entire mounted force, systematically destroyed their tribal settlements to scatter their army, then struck the capital when it was defenseless. Every move chained into the next like dominoes. This kid is extraordinary. The future emperor just called me extraordinary. I am collecting powerful fans like Pokemon cards at this point. Then his creepy black-robed monk advisor Yao Guangxiao, the guy who basically masterminds Zhu Di's future rebellion, stroked his chin and said, "Get me this boy's birth date and time. I want to read his fortune. See if he can be useful to UI in the future." And the future. This monk is already planning a rebellion that's years away, and he wants to know if I fit into it. I'm being scouted for a coup, and I'm not even old enough to grow a proper beard. Zhu Di sighed. Why couldn't he have been born in MY territory? If he were part of my Beiping army, I'd be unstoppable. Sorry, Your Highness. I'm freelance. Not currently accepting recruitment offers from future usurpers. Ask again in a few years when things get interesting. Meanwhile, Nanjing. Fengtian Hall. Round 3. The court was handling regular business. The Minister of War reported that Feng Sheng's forces had engaged the Yuan army. Lan Yu attacking Kaiyuan with 100,000. Fu Yid hitting Jinzhou with another 100,000. The emperor was in a good mood. Nahachu is finished. I've been planning this for years. There's no scenario where we lose. Crown Prince Zhu Biao was already thinking post-war. Father, after we take Liaodong, we need to rebuild. Millions of Chinese people have been living under Yuan rule for decades. The finance ministry needs to send supplies. The personnel ministry needs to select competent officials for governance. Both ministers jumped up immediately. Yes, Your Highness. The emperor watched his son handle state affairs with the biggest proud dad smile. This man conquered an empire, but watching his kid run a government meeting makes him beam like any father at a school play. Then the emperor reminded everyone, don't squeeze the common people for war supplies. Everything comes from existing taxes. I came from poverty. I know what it's like. NO exploitation. Classic Zhu Yuanzhang. Ruthless to officials, soft spot for peasants. And then, urgent dispatch. From Grand General Feng Sheng. The emperor's eyes lit up. Must be good news. Yin Shi, skip the formalities, just read it. The eunuch grabbed the report and started reading to the entire court. Your servant Feng Sheng reports. The 200,000-strong army has engaged the enemy. Marquis Lan Yu attacks Kaiyuan. Duke Fu Yid attacks Jinzhou. Victory is expected soon. Standard stuff. Everyone nodding along. Additionally, oh here we go. Your servant reports on the achievements of Garrison Commander Zhu Ying in the northern frontier. Every head in the hall snapped to attention. My name. Again. For the third time in the Fengtian Hall. Garrison Commander Zhu Ying led 4,000 troops deep into Jurchen territory, attacked their tribal capital, and personally beheaded Jurchen chieftain Ahachu. Silence. Complete. Total. Silence. His original orders were to hold out for half a month. He remained for nearly 2 months, destroyed dozens of tribal settlements, killed uncountable enemies, and has now crippled the Jianzhou Jurchens so severely they cannot threaten Ming borders or reinforce the Yuan army. Still silent. Your servant Feng Sheng formally requests rewards for Zhu Ying's extraordinary service. The eunuch finished reading. The entire Fengtian Hall, every minister, every general, every bureaucrat, every secretary, was sitting there in stunned silence like they'd just been told the sky was actually green and always had been. Because let's do the math from their perspective. A few weeks ago, they gave me a hereditary noble title for destroying one tribal camp and killing their cavalry. That was already unprecedented for someone my age. Now they're being told that after that, I went and destroyed 20 more settlements, annihilated the rest of their military, raided their capital, and personally cut off their chieftain's head, with 4,000 men, in enemy territory. For 2 months, the silence in that hall wasn't confusion. It was the sound of an entire government trying to recalibrate their understanding of what a single human being is capable of. My name. In the Fengtian Hall. 3 times in a few months. First time. Who's this random soldier? Second time. Give him a noble title. Third time. Error. Does not compute. Rebooting, and this report came from Feng Sheng. Not some local governor trying to puff up his subordinate. The Grand General of the entire Northern Campaign personally wrote this and personally requested rewards. Somewhere in that silent hall, the emperor was smiling. Somewhere else, ministers were recalculating their political alliances. And somewhere in the frozen north, the subject of all this commotion was riding a horse, chewing a dry biscuit, with a decomposing head bouncing on his hip. Third time's the charm, baby. The silence in the Fengtian Hall lasted so long that I'm pretty sure a few ministers aged visibly. Then the whispers started. Is this guy the reincarnation of the champion Marquis? A few thousand cavalry against tens of thousands, and he won. He killed their chieftain, raided their capital. How many times has this name shown up in this hall now? 3. Every single time my name drops in this court, the achievements get more ridiculous. First time, killed 100 men. Second time, annihilated 10,000 cavalry. Third time, beheaded a tribal chieftain in his own home. At this rate, next time they hear my name, I'll have conquered a continent or punched the moon. Then Crown Prince Zhu Biao said the thing that changed everything. Father, Zhu Ying has the spirit of the champion Marquis. Champion Marquis. Huizubing, the most legendary young general in the entire history of Chinese civilization. The man who rode into Xiongnu territory at age 17 and carved a path of destruction so glorious they named a mountain ceremony after it. And the Crown Prince just compared me to him. Not in a private room, not in a whisper, in front of the entire imperial court. When Feng Sheng said it at the military camp, maybe 50 people heard. When Zhu Biao says it in the Fengtian Hall, the entire empire will know by next week. The emperor agreed immediately. Indeed, he has the champion Marquis spirit. Such achievements with such small forces against such overwhelming odds. This man deserves rewards and recognition. What should we give him? The emperor asked, once again tossing the decision to his son like a well-practiced father-son routine. Zhu Biao thought for about 3 seconds. Promote him to regional vice commander. Authority to lead 10,000 troops. 10,000 troops. I went from commanding 4,000 borrowed cavalry to having official authority over 10,000 soldiers. That's not a promotion, that's a quantum leap. Additionally, 1,000 gold, a set of general's armor, a ceremonial sword, and a ceremonial bow, 1,000 gold. General's armor. Personal weapons bestowed by the Crown Prince. The War Minister bowed. I'll issue the military orders immediately, Your Highness. Then Zhu Biao said something that made every minister in the room turn green with envy. Father, I'll write this decree myself, the Crown Prince, personally writing my promotion decree, with his own hand, using his own seal. In the Ming Dynasty, the Crown Prince writing your decree is basically God signing your paycheck. Zhu Biao's seal carries the same weight as the emperor's. This isn't just a promotion, it's a public statement that says, this man belongs to me. He is my chosen talent. Touch him and you touch the throne. The emperor smiled warmly. Go ahead. I won't be sitting on this throne much longer anyway. This Zhu Ying is worth your attention. won't be sitting much longer. The Emperor of China just casually mentioned his own retirement. To be fair, the man is in his 60s, and he's been grooming Zhu Biao to take over for years. But still, hearing that in open court? That's the most powerful endorsement a future leader can receive. After court, Zhu Biao went to the Eastern Palace and personally sat down with brush and ink to write my decree, sealed it with his own princely seal, handed it to an official, rushed this to the military in Liaodong. Then he looked at my personnel file and his brow furrowed. 16 years old. Incredible talent. But wait, his registered hometown is Beiping. Why did he enlist in Daning? Oh, that's actually a really good question. Normally soldiers enlist in their home prefecture. I enlisted in Daning, which is a completely different region. If Zhu Biao starts pulling that thread, well, let's just say my backstory involves the Shen family, a murdered grandmother, and some very inconvenient secrets. But that's a problem for later. Then a beautiful woman walked into the Eastern Palace carrying chicken soup. Husband, you've been working so hard. I made this for you. Lu Shi, the crown prince's secondary consort, mother of Zhu Yunwen, the eldest surviving son. The woman whose father's family was currently marrying Shen family daughters as concubines, while simultaneously hoping I'd die in the northern wilderness. Small world, right? Behind her was a 10-year-old boy bowing respectfully. Greetings, father, Zhu Yunwen. The kid who, in the history I know, eventually becomes emperor after Zhu Biao dies, and then gets overthrown by Zhu Di in the most famous civil war in Ming history. He looks polite, well-mannered. Weak. Zhu Biao asked about his other son, Zhu Yunxiong, the second son but legitimate heir born to the deceased primary consort. And right there, for just a split second, Lu Shi's eyes went ice cold. Then she smiled sweetly. Oh, Yunxiong has been isolating himself lately. Locks himself in his room. Won't even go to school sometimes. The way she said it. So concerned. So worried. Like a loving stepmother who just can't understand why the legitimate heir is struggling. If you believe that act, I've got a bridge to sell you. That kid is being sabotaged. Lu Shi wants her son on the throne, not the legitimate heir. And a child who locks himself in his room and won't go to school is a child who's being broken by the people who are supposed to protect him. Court politics. Family intrigue. Hidden knives behind silk smiles. And me? What do I think about all this? I don't. Because I'm still on a horse. Still riding east. Still gnawing a dry biscuit. Still completely unaware that the crown prince just personally wrote my promotion. The emperor called me the next champion marquis, and every political faction in the empire is adding Zhu Ying to their chessboard. 14 years old. Regional vice commander of 10,000. Hereditary noble. Personally endorsed by the crown prince. 5 months ago, I was literally nobody. The grind works, folks. It really, really works. Now I wasn't anywhere near the Eastern Palace when this happened. I learned about it much, much later. But since we're telling this story, you need to understand what was happening inside those gilded walls, because it matters. It matters a lot. So Zhu Biao heard that his second son, Zhu Yunxiong, the legitimate heir, born to his beloved first wife, was skipping school and hiding in his room. And he got mad. Bring him to me. Lu Shi, the secondary consort, flashed a quick look at her personal maid. Just a glance. Just a tiny flick of the eyes. But that glance contained an entire conspiracy. The maid marched to Yunxiong's quarters, and let me paint this picture for you. This kid is the legitimate son of the crown prince. By rights, he should be the most pampered, most protected child in the empire. Servants everywhere. Tutors fawning. Guards saluting. Instead, his quarters were a side building. His attendants were actually spies for Lu Shi. He had one loyal maid, a woman named Yunyu who his dead mother had left to watch over him. One person in the entire Eastern Palace who actually cared if this child lived or died. The maid kicked the door open, literally banged it, and the kid flinched like a beaten dog. Your father summons you. Move. What does father want? Stop asking questions. This child is not even 10 years old. He's the grandson of the emperor. And a servant just screamed at him like he was something she scraped off her shoe. Yunxiong looked at Yunyu with terrified eyes. Cloud sister, will you come with me? The summons is for the prince only. Irrelevant people stay put. Yunyu gave the boy a gentle, heartbreaking smile. Go, young master. I'll be here when you come back. After Yunxiong left, Lu Shi's maid turned to Yun Yu with a voice like ice. The former crown princess is dead. Has been for years. Lu Shi runs this palace now. You'd better remember what words to say and what words to swallow. Don't make us remind you again. Translation: cross us and you disappear. This poor woman, loyal to a dead mistress, protecting a child everyone wants gone, surrounded by enemies, one wrong word away from a shallow grave. Then the main event. Little Yunxiong walked into the throne room, head down, shoulders hunched, trembling like a leaf. No confidence, no presence, nothing resembling a prince. And Zhu Biao looked at him with disgust. Here's the tragedy nobody talks about. Zhu Biao blames this kid. His first wife, the love of his life, his sister Chong, died giving birth to Yunxiong. Every time Zhu Biao looks at his legitimate son, he sees the reason his wife is dead. It's not rational. It's not fair. But grief doesn't care about fairness. I heard you've been skipping the Imperial Academy. I. The kid glanced at Lu Shi for help. For anything. A word. A gesture. Lu Shi turned her back to Zhu Biao and shot Yunxiong an icy cold stare that basically said, "Say anything about me and you'll regret it." The boy's body actually shook. He couldn't speak. He couldn't defend himself. He couldn't explain that the reason he doesn't go to school is probably because LSHI's people make his life a living hell every time he tries. "I'm disappointed in you," Zhu Biao said coldly. Then he turned to Lu Shi. "Supervise him. If he skips school again, punishment. Of course, husband." She just got handed official authority to discipline the legitimate heir. The woman who wants him broken just got permission to break him further. That's not a solution. That's handing the fox the keys to the henhouse. Then, the knife twist. Lu Shi smiled sweetly. "By the way, husband, your son Yunwen goes to the academy every single day. All his tutors praise him." Zhu Biao's eyes softened as he looked at Yunwen. "Good boy. Keep studying." Yunwen bowed perfectly. "I will never disappoint you, father." Polished. Rehearsed. Perfect little performance from a kid who's been coached his entire life to outshine his half-brother. Meanwhile, Yunxiong was dismissed with a wave. "You can go." He shuffled out. Broken. Invisible. Back in his room, he collapsed into Yunyu's arms, crying. "Cloud sister, will they always bully me? I didn't do anything. Why does father hate me?" A 9-year-old child. Asking why his own father hates him. The answer, which nobody will ever tell him, is, because your mother loved you enough to die bringing you into this world, and your father loved her too much to forgive you for it. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because someday, somehow, my path is going to cross with this kid's. The Shin family is connected to the Lu family. The Lu family controls the Eastern Palace. The Eastern Palace shapes the future of the dynasty. And somewhere in that web of politics, backstabbing, and broken children, there's a reason the Shin family wants me dead. I don't know the connection yet, but I will. For now, though, I'm still on a horse, still riding home, still blissfully unaware that the most powerful family drama in China somehow involves a blood-soaked 14-year-old with a severed head on his belt. Politics is ugly, folks. War is simpler. At least on the battlefield, your enemies have the decency to face you. So while I was galloping home across the northern plains with 3,000 warriors and 10,000 horses, let me tell you what was happening in the places I couldn't see. Back at the Eastern Palace, little Yunxiong was sobbing in Yunyu's arms. "Maybe I really am a disaster. Mother died giving birth to me. Grandmother protected me, but she's gone. My big brother protected me, but he's gone too. Everyone who loves me dies. Maybe I shouldn't have been born." A 9-year-old LD said that. Let that sink in. Yunyu held him tight, crying herself. "You're not a disaster. They're watching over you from heaven. You have to keep living." This woman, this one single maid, standing between a helpless child and an entire palace full of people who want him erased. She's got more courage than half the generals in the Ming army. Meanwhile, in Lu Shi's private chambers, the mask was off. Rongluan, is the little bastard behaving? Yeah, she called him that. The legitimate prince. The rightful heir. Bastard. The same woman who 5 minutes ago was serving chicken soup and calling Zhu Biao, beloved husband, with a voice like honey. Yes, madam. He's completely under control. Our people surround him at all times. He can't even sneeze without us knowing. Good. But don't get lazy. Watch him. Every move. And that maid of his. Yunyu. If she steps out of line. Lu Shi's eyes went cold as a winter grave. Handle her. Handle, meaning, make disappear. Got it. Crystal clear. This woman is running a prison inside the Eastern Palace, and nobody outside knows. Zhu Biao thinks she's a loving stepmother. The emperor doesn't pay attention. And little Yunxiong has no one left to protect him except a single maid who could be handled at any moment. You know what? Filing this away too. Someday this information is going to matter. I don't know how yet, but a gut feeling tells me these threads all connect back to me eventually. Now, back to the part with actual warfare. Down at Liaodong, the big boys was not going great. Fu Yud had been hammering Jinzhou City for 10 days straight. 200 cannons, waves of infantry, arrows blackening the sky, the works. And the Yuan defenders? They wouldn't budge. Nahachu had turned Jinzhou into an absolute fortress. Thick walls, heavy garrison, cannons on the battlements. Every attack the Ming launched was met with a wall of arrows and iron balls flying back. Ming soldiers were dying in droves trying to climb those walls. Front line after front line mowed down by Yuan archers and cannons. Fu Yud, a legendary general, mind you, stood watching the carnage with a furrowed brow. I underestimated Nahachu. This city is an iron bucket. General Zhao Yong begged to lead another charge. Fu Yud shook his head. Throwing more bodies at those walls won't help. We need a different approach. Retreat for now. But sir, we've been attacking for days. We've already lost so many, and we'll lose more if we keep being stupid about it. Pull back, smart man. Frustrating situation. Nahachu had put roughly 80 to 90% of his total forces inside these two fortress cities. Kaiyuan and Jinzhou were designed from the ground up to resist exactly this kind of invasion. Brute force alone wasn't going to crack them. The retreat horns sounded. Ming troops pulled back from the killing fields in front of Jinzhou's walls. Fu Yud stared at the city, thinking, calculating. Nahachu, you put everything into these two cities. You think walls and cannons will stop us forever. Then, west of Jinzhou, something very unexpected happened. A Ming patrol unit, 1,000 men on routine scouting duty, suddenly heard it. A sound that made every single one of them freeze. Thunder. From the west. Thousands of hooves. Getting louder. The patrol commander's face went white. Battle formation. Shields forward. Spears up. Archers behind. Send a rider for reinforcements. Now, 1,000 Ming soldiers formed a desperate defensive line, staring west into the dust cloud. The ground was shaking. The sound was deafening. Through the haze, they could see it. Thousands of horses. Maybe tens of thousands. A massive cavalry force charging straight toward them from a direction where no enemy should exist. How are there Yuan troops coming from the west? That makes no sense. Yeah, about that. Those aren't Yuan troops. Those are MY horses. 10,000 stolen Jurchen war horses, thundering across the plains, driven by 3,000 of the most battle-hardened, blood-soaked, feral-looking cavalrymen the Ming dynasty has ever produced. We've been riding for days. We look like demons. We smell like demons. We probably are demons at this point. And from a distance, we look like an invasion force. Because 10,000 horses makes the ground shake like an earthquake, and nobody expects a friendly army to come screaming in from the western wilderness. Those poor patrol soldiers had no idea they were about to meet the most terrifying allies they'd ever seen. Surprise, boys. Zhu Ying is home. Well, almost home. Close enough to scare the living daylights out of our own people first. Which, honestly, pretty on brand for me. The Ming patrol was about 3 seconds from filling us with arrows. I could see them, 1,000 soldiers, shields up, spears out, bows drawn, absolutely terrified because 10,000 horses were stampeding straight at them from a direction where only enemies should exist. Their commander was squinting through the dust cloud, trying to figure out if he was about to die, when he noticed something. Wait, why do half those horses have no riders? Then he saw it. Our battle flag, snapping in the wind. One giant character, Ning Ning. Stand down. Stand down. Those are OURS. You could literally hear the relief wash over 1,000 men simultaneously. That's a sound. It's the sound of 1,000 buttholes unclenching at the same time. One of the vice commanders blinked. But sir, what Ming army is coming from the northern wilderness? You idiot. Don't you remember? The Daning border garrison. The one that's been fighting in Jurchen territory for 2 months. That's Zhu Ying's unit. Zhu Ying? The Zhu Ying? The 100-man killer? The one who destroyed the tribal capital and beheaded the chieftain. Yes, that's Zhu Yijinji. How many Zhu Yings do you know? Apparently I'm famous now. Like, properly famous. Not, oh, I heard that name once, famous. Everyone in the army knows famous. The commander said my name like he was talking about a legend. Not a real person. A story you tell around the campfire to scare recruits into behaving. I raised my hand. Halt. 10,000 horses ground to a stop. 3,000 riders reined in behind me. The dust settled. I looked at the Ming soldiers in front of me and felt something I hadn't felt in over 2 months. Home. Not literally home. This was Liaodong, not Daning. But it was Ming territory. Our people. Our flag. Our side of the line. 2 months. Over 60 days in enemy territory. Every single one of those days spent on the edge of annihilation. Every night sleeping on frozen ground with one eye open. Every morning wondering if today was the day we got surrounded and wiped out. I was the leader, the one everyone looked to, the one who had to stay calm when things went sideways, the one who promised to bring them home. And I did it. I rode forward alone toward the Ming patrol. Just me. Single rider. Because if I'm not an enemy, I prove it by approaching alone. The patrol commander stepped out of his formation and got his first good look at me, and froze. I mean, I get it. Picture what he was seeing. A teenager on a war horse, completely caked in dried blood from head to toe. Not a single clean spot on my armor, my clothes, my face, my hair. My horse looked like it had been bathed in red paint. The saber on my hip was so blood-crusted it was almost a different color. And hanging from my belt was, well, there used to be a head there. After 2 months in the elements, it was more of a souvenir. A very dried, very disturbing souvenir. I radiated killing intent without even trying. 2 months of nonstop combat had soaked into my bones. I probably looked like death took human form and went for a horseback ride. Commander Wu Xiong greets Garrison Commander Zhu Ying. He snapped the sharpest military salute I've ever seen. You know who I am? I was genuinely surprised. I'd been in the wilderness. No internet. No newspapers. No social media. Just killing and riding and killing some more. How was I famous? Sir, everyone knows who you are. You raided the Jurchen camps. Destroyed their cavalry. Broke their tribal capital, beheaded their chieftain. There isn't a single soldier in this entire army who doesn't know the name Zhu Ying. Oh. So while I was out there grinding stats and collecting ears, my battle reports had been circulating through the entire Ming Expeditionary Force. 230,000 soldiers, and apparently every last one of them had heard of me. I went from random border guard to military celebrity without even realizing it. Where are we exactly? I asked. Liaodong, sir. Jinzhou District. General Fu Yud is currently besieging Jinzhou City. I'm on patrol duty watching for Yuan ambushes, Liaodong. I'd ridden so far east that I'd crossed completely out of Jurchen territory and ended up in the active war zone. Accidentally. Because navigation in the frozen north is basically just pick a direction and pray. I turned around and looked at my soldiers. 3,000 of them. Still mounted. Still in formation. Every single one looking like they'd crawled out of a horror painting. 2 months ago, there were 4,000. We lost nearly 1,000 brothers along the way. Some to arrows. Some to sabers. Some to wounds that wouldn't stop bleeding. Every one of them was tied to a horse and carried with us. Because I promised. But the ones who survived? They were transformed. These weren't border garrison soldiers anymore. These were apex predators in human skin. They sat on their horses with the quiet, terrifying confidence of men who had killed so many people they'd stopped counting. The patrol soldiers were staring at us. Not with fear exactly. With AWE. Like they were looking at something they'd only heard about in legends. And it turned out to be real. I turned back to face them, took a deep breath, and shouted the words I'd been wanting to say for 63 days. Brothers, I brought you home. Behind me, 3,000 voices erupted. Not in a cheer. Not in a battle cry. Just release. Pure, overwhelming release. Some laughed. Some cried. Some just screamed at the sky. We were home. We were finally, impossibly, miraculously home. I am Zhu Ying. I am 14 years old. I walked into hell with 4,000 men and walked out with 3,000. And I kept my promise. Every single living brother, home. Every single dead brother, on a horse beside us. Nobody left behind. Nobody. The patrol soldiers were staring at us like we were ghosts. And honestly, Fair. We looked like ghosts. Ghosts who'd been dragged through a slaughterhouse, set on fire, rolled in mud, and then dragged through another slaughterhouse just for good measure. What? What kind of war did they go through? Did they crawl out of the underworld? Yeah, buddy, pretty much. 2 months in frozen enemy territory fighting every single day will do that to a person's appearance. And smell. Especially the smell. Brothers, we're home. The dam broke. 3,000 hardened killers. Men who hadn't flinched facing 10-1 odds. Men who'd charged tribal capitals at dawn. Men who'd ridden through storms of arrows without blinking. Completely fell apart. Grown men sobbing on horseback. Warriors clutching their reins with white knuckles. Tears cutting clean tracks through the blood caked on their faces. Zhao Si, you see that? We made it, brother. Wang Wu. You took that saber for me. You died so I could live. We're home now, brother. Rest easy. Chen Lin, you bastard. You went and became a hero's ghost, and now you're making me cry. They weren't just crying for themselves. They were crying for the brothers who didn't make it. The ones strapped to horses behind us. The ones who'd never walk through their front door again. The ones whose families would receive bones instead of hugs. Nearly 1,000 men. Gone. Left behind only as bundles wrapped in cloth, tied to the saddles of horses they'd never ride again. And yeah, I cried too. I'm not going to pretend I didn't. I've got 1,500 spirit points and nearly 900 inner breath, but none of that makes you immune to watching your brothers die over 2 months of nonstop combat. Every face I couldn't save. Every name I had to mentally cross off the list. Every time I heard, "Commander, we lost another one," my voice cracked when I shouted it. Brothers, bring our fallen heroes home. Spirits, return to US. Spirits, return to US. Spirits, return to US. 3,000 voices and 1,000 ghosts, all heading home together. Commander Wu Xiong, the patrol captain, took one look at this scene and immediately ordered his 1,000 men to form an honor guard. They split into 2 perfect lines, standing at attention, rigid and solemn. Spirits, return. Spirits, return. 1,000 voices joining ours, echoing across the Liaodong plains. A chorus for the dead and the living. The men who went to hell and the men who came back from it. I've killed thousands of enemies without blinking. But this moment, this hit somewhere even my stat panel can't reach. Then the news reached the main camp. General Fu, Garrison Commander Zhu Ying, has returned from the northern frontier. He's entered our controlled territory. Fu Yud, Duke of Ying, founding noble of the Ming Dynasty, commander of 100,000 troops, stood up from his chair with the excitement of a kid. Hearing the ice cream truck. Bring him to me. I've been waiting to meet this man. His aide quickly explained that we were, a little rough around the edges and maybe needed a bath first. Right, of course. 2 months in the wilderness. They must be exhausted. Then Fu Yu did something that made every general in his tent do a double take. Gentlemen, come with me. We're going to greet Zhu Ying personally. A founding duke of the Ming Dynasty was walking out of his command tent to personally welcome a garrison commander. That's like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company going to the lobby to shake hands with an intern. Except this intern had killed more people than most of those generals combined. Every officer in the tent scrambled to follow. Not because Fu Yu had ordered them to, but because they were curious. They'd been hearing about me for weeks. The mysterious teenage commander who did impossible things in the frozen north. They wanted to see if the legend matched the reality. We reached the camp entrance. I saw them, a whole crowd of high-ranking officers in their fancy black cloaks and polished armor, standing at the gate like a welcoming committee. Wu Xiong nearly tripped over himself bowing. "Yes, sir." Commander Wu Xiong greets General Fu Yud. The Fu Yud, right in front of me. Then Wu Xiong whispered in my ear, "That's General Fu Yud, deputy commander of the entire campaign. Commands 100,000 troops. He's a duke." I knew exactly who he was. Founding duke. Brilliant strategist. One of the most respected generals alive. Also, future victim of the Emperor's purge after Zhu Biao dies. But let's not think about that right now. Commander Zhu Ying greets General Fu. I bowed properly. Because no matter how many people I've killed or how many stat points I have, you show respect to a man who earned his duke title on actual battlefields. Fu Yud looked at me. First impression, he couldn't see my face because it was entirely covered in dried blood. Second impression, I smelled like a war crime. Third impression, I looked like something that crawls out of a lake in a horror story to drag people under. But behind all that, his eyes showed something I didn't expect. Respect. Real, genuine respect. Not the political kind. Not the, oh, you're useful kind. The kind one warrior gives another when he looks at the scars and the blood and the exhaustion and understands what it cost. Every general standing behind him was looking at me the same way. These were Huaishi veterans. Men who'd fought in dozens of campaigns. Men who'd seen everything war has to offer. And they were looking at a blood-soaked 14-year-old like he was something they'd never seen before. Because they hadn't. Nobody had ever seen anything like me. And honestly, looking down at myself, the crusted blood, the dented armor, the saber that used to be silver but was now permanently red, the belt where a chieftain's head used to hang. I hadn't seen anything like me either. Fu Yud walked straight up to me, didn't hesitate, didn't flinch at the smell, and trust me, the smell was bad. We're talking 2 months of blood, sweat, horse, and death baked into every fiber of my being. I was basically a biological weapon at this point. He grabbed my arms and lifted me out of my bow with his own hands. Zhu Ying, I've heard your name so many times. Finally getting to see you in person, General Fu's reputation precedes him. It's an honor. Look at me being all humble. Diplomatic Zhu Ying. Court-ready Zhu Ying. Blood-caked, stinking, head-collecting Zhu Ying, bowing politely like he's at a tea party. 2 months in enemy territory. You've been through hell. Just doing my duty as a Ming soldier, sir. Smooth. Nailed it. Textbook answer. Then I turned to my troops. All soldiers, salute General Fu. 3,000 voices hit like a thunderclap. We greet General Fu. Every general standing behind Fu Yud physically recoiled. Not from the volume, from the killing intent. 3,000 men who've been murdering people daily for 2 months don't just salute. They radiate. The air around us got heavier. You could practically see the bloodlust rolling off my soldiers like heat off asphalt. Fu Yud, to his credit, didn't even blink. This man has been building empires since before I was born. A little killing intent is Tuesday for him. But I could see his eyes. He was impressed. Genuinely impressed. These are soldiers forged in the fires of absolute desperation, he was thinking. I could tell. A commander recognizes quality troops the way a chef recognizes good ingredients. Instinctively. He addressed my soldiers directly. You've done something extraordinary. Your sacrifices will not be forgotten. I will personally report your achievements to the Emperor. Every one of you will be rewarded. Nice words. Appreciated. But I had something more important to handle first. General Fu, I have one request. He smiled. Speak. I reached into my blood-crusted armor and pulled out a book. A small, thin registry, absolutely soaked in dried blood. Not metaphorically. Literally stained red from being carried against my chest through 2 months of carnage. This is the roster of my fallen soldiers. I held it out with both hands. 1,578 names. The number hung in the air like a physical weight. I asked that General Fu submit this to the Ministry of War and the Imperial Court. Their families deserve death benefits, pensions, support. These men died for the Ming Dynasty. Their parents shouldn't starve. Their children shouldn't go hungry. Please ensure our fallen brothers' families are cared for. 3,000 voices erupted behind me. Every general watching this scene went quiet. Some looked away. Some blinked hard. Because this is the part nobody talks about in war stories. The glory, the victories, the promotions. That's the easy part. The hard part is remembering that 1,578 families are about to receive a bundle of bones instead of a living, breathing father, son, or husband. And the hardest part? Making sure the government bureaucrats who handle death benefits don't steal the money meant for those families. Because I know this era. I know corrupt officials exist even under Zhu Yuanzhang's iron fist. I know that military pension, money has a funny way of disappearing into someone's pocket before it reaches the widow who needs it. That's why I did this publicly. In front of Fu Yud. In front of dozens of senior generals. In front of the military inspector. With a named roster. Bloodstained for maximum emotional impact. Try embezzling these death benefits now, Mr. Corrupt Local Official. I dare you. This roster went through a duke's hands in front of 30 witnesses. Steal from it and see what happens. Fu Yud stepped forward. He didn't take the roster with one hand. He used both. Full respect. Full ceremony. He understood exactly what he was holding. He opened it. Page after page of names written in my handwriting. Every single one. After every battle, I sat down and wrote their names myself. By firelight, by moonlight, sometimes with hands still trembling from combat. I, Fu Yud, accept this roster. These soldiers' families will receive full benefits. I will submit this directly to the Emperor. Not through channels. Directly. Thank you, General. 3,000 voices. Thank you, General. Good. That's handled. The dead are honored. The living are protected. Now, military inspector. Step forward. Fu Yud called for the official war merit counter. Zhu Ying, present your proof of military achievement for the official record. Time for the fun part. I reached behind me and pulled out a bag. Dropped it on the ground. A partially preserved, powder-dusted, very recognizable human head rolled out. The head of Jianzhou Jurchen Chieftain Ahachu. Every general stared at it. Some with fascination. Some with mild nausea. One guy in the back looked like he needed to sit down. Noted, said the inspector, writing very carefully. Then I turned to my troops and waved them forward. One at a time, boys. Orderly. Zhang Wu stepped up first. Opened his bag. Dumped it on the ground. 70+ severed ears tumbled out like the world's most horrifying piñata. Then Wei Quan. Another bag. Another 70 years. Then Zhuang Wei. Same thing. The generals were watching this with expressions that started at professional interest and quickly migrated to what in the actual, and my soldiers were still lining up. 3,000 men. Each one carrying a bag of ears. Each bag representing confirmed enemy kills. The military inspector's writing hand was starting to shake. We weren't just presenting war trophies. We were building a mountain of evidence. An ear mountain. The most disgusting, most impressive, most undeniable proof of military achievement in Ming Dynasty history. Every ear was a kill. Every kill was a merit point. Every merit point was a promotion, a bonus, or a commendation for the soldier who earned it. These men went to hell and came back with receipts. And we weren't even close to done emptying bags. The ear mountain kept growing. The military inspector's scribes were frozen in shock until Fu Yud barked, "What are you standing there for? Write it down." They scrambled for their brushes and started recording. Name after name, ear after ear. My officers went first, 70 years each. Then regular soldiers started lining up. Some had 5. Some had 15. Some absolute psychopaths had 30+. Every single one of my surviving soldiers had kills to show. Not a single empty-handed man in the entire unit. The generals watching this display were doing math in their heads, and their eyes kept getting wider. Because the ears alone added up to over 20,000 confirmed kills. And that was just the ones we could prove. There were dozens of battles where we were being chased and had no time to stop and collect trophies. The real number was probably 30,000 or more. Fu Yud grinned at me. So Zhu Ying, how many did you personally kill? Quite a few, sir. Didn't keep exact count. Zhang Wu, bless his complete lack of filter, immediately jumped in. Sir, our commander fights like the hegemon king, Xiang Yu reborn. He personally killed at least 800 enemies. Maybe 1,000. Fu Yud's eyebrows went up. But all he said was, outstanding. A true warrior of the Ming Dynasty. Then the logistics officer announced that hot water was ready. Fu Yud immediately ordered fresh uniforms, meat, and flatbread for every one of my soldiers. Everything they wanted except alcohol. We were still in a war zone, after all. Today, I treat your entire unit on behalf of the army. Thank you, General. Then he patted my shoulder and said something curious. Rest today? Tomorrow. I have a surprise for you. A surprise. From a founding duke of the Ming Dynasty. That's either going to be amazing or terrifying. Possibly both. He left with his officers, and we headed for the logistics area where dozens of massive wooden tubs of steaming hot water were waiting. First things first. Brothers, lay our fallen to rest properly before we wash. Every soldier carrying remains walked to the side and gently, reverently placed the bundles of bones down. 2 months of carrying their dead brothers on horseback through enemy territory, and they handled those remains like they were made of glass. Then it was bath time. All right, boys, we're all men here. Strip. I started pulling off my armor. Layers of crusted blood cracked and flaked off like old paint. My military uniform was basically glued to my skin with dried gore. Peeling it off was a workout in itself. Then some big, burly soldier named Wang Laosan, a massive guy, built like a bear, shouted, "Commander, you're younger than me. I bet my equipment is bigger than yours. Ha ha ha. Everyone cracked up. First real laugh in 2 months. Then I took off my pants. Dead. Silence. Wang Laosan's jaw hit the ground. Sweet mother of, holy, is that even human? Wang Laosan, you were bragging? Look at the commander. Which poor girl is going to survive that? Ha! The entire bathing area erupted. 3,000 grown men laughing until they couldn't breathe. After 2 months of blood and terror and death, this was the moment that finally broke the tension. Crude soldier humor about my considerable endowment. Look, when the system gives you stats, it gives you all the stats, okay? 1,400 points of constitution doesn't just make you tough in combat. It makes everything proportional. Let's leave it at that. Enough. Wash up and go eat meat. You want to spend the rest of the day staring at me, or do you want food? That snapped them out of it. The word, meat, hit harder than any battle cry. After 2 months of dry biscuits and field rations, actual meat was basically a religious experience. I climbed into a wooden tub and sank into hot water for the first time in over 60 days. Heaven. Actual heaven. The water turned red immediately, like dropping a tea bag except the tea is human blood. The ground around the bathing area was flowing with crimson runoff. The logistics soldiers staring at us looked like they'd seen a horror show. While soaking, I pulled up my stats for a nice relaxing read. Host. Zhu Ying age. 14 inner breath. 1,031. Broken 1,000. I'm officially a real martial artist now. Strength. 2,285. Over 2,000 gene. I punch with the force of a compact CAR. Speed. 2,023. 20 times faster than a normal human. Constitution. 1,782. Regular arrows probably can't even pierce my skin anymore. Endurance. 1,752. I could run a marathon, and then fight a war, and then run another marathon. Spirit. 1,793. I can sense killing intent from a kilometer away in every direction. Lifespan. 112 years. 5,212 days storage. 19 cubic meters if I got surrounded by 1,000 men right now. Given enough time, I could kill every single one. That's not arrogance. That's math. 20 times normal speed. 2,000 gene per strike. 17 times the durability. And inner breath past 1,000 means I can reinforce every attack with internal energy. I'm not a soldier anymore. I'm a one-man army. Fresh uniforms arrived. We changed. 3,000 blood demons transformed into clean, pressed, proper Ming Dynasty soldiers. Like a before and after makeover, except the before was a war crime. Back at the main tent, the inspector was giving Fu Yud the final tally. Total confirmed kills by Zhu Ying's garrison unit, 23,000 and change. Note that this number is likely lower than actual kills, as battlefield conditions frequently prevented trophy collection. Fu Yud looked around the tent at his generals, these proud, arrogant Huaishi veterans who'd been trying to crack a fortress for 10 days. For 1,000 soldiers, 23,000 confirmed kills, 1,500 losses. He let those numbers sit in the air. Thoughts, gentlemen? Silence. Complete, humiliating, deafening silence. Not a single Huaishi general could open his mouth. What were they going to say? They had 100,000 troops and hadn't taken a single city yet. I had 4,000 and basically deleted an entire ethnic group's military capability. The arrogance? Deflated. The swagger? Gone. The, oh he's just lucky, attitude from Lanyu? Nowhere to be found. 23,000 kills. With confirmed ERS. Not estimates. Not exaggerations. Physical, countable, smellable proof piled up on the ground like the world's most disgusting evidence locker. Try calling that luck, Lanyu. I dare you. After Fu Yud dropped those kill stats on his generals, the tent stayed quiet long enough for dust to settle on their egos. Then he hit them with the life lesson nobody asked for, but everybody needed. Gentlemen, there is always a higher mountain. There is always a stronger warrior. New heroes rise with every generation. I suggest you stop living in the past. Translation, you Huaishi guys think you're hot stuff because you helped found the dynasty? Cool story. A 14-year-old just outperformed your entire career highlights reel with 4,000 borrowed soldiers. Maybe sit down. Nobody said a word. Because what can you say? Actually, sir, our inability to crack a fortress with 100,000 troops is also very impressive. Yeah, That doesn't hit the same. The next morning I woke up in an actual tent, on actual bedding, under an actual roof. I lay there for a solid minute just appreciating it. 2 months of sleeping on frozen dirt with one eye open, and now a tent with fabric walls and a floor that wasn't permafrost. Luxury. Oh, that's the best sleep I've had since I joined the army. I got dressed, strapped on my gear, and walked outside to find Lu Lei and my guards already standing at attention. Didn't I tell you guys to sleep in? We did, Commander. Woke up a little while ago. These guys, even when I order them to relax, they can't help being professional. I'd be annoyed if it wasn't so endearing. Fine. Let's go eat. Real food. Hot food. At a fire kitchen. Not dry biscuits gnawed on horseback while dodging arrows. Actual cooked meals prepared by people whose job is cooking, not killing. I might have shed a tear into my rice. Nobody saw. I have 1,793 spirit points. I can sense if anyone's looking. After breakfast, I headed to the main camp for whatever, surprise, Fu Yud had promised. The whole camp was buzzing with military activity, troops repositioning, supplies moving, battle preparations everywhere. Jinzhou was clearly giving them headaches. Guard stopped me at the command tent entrance. Halt. State your business. Deigning Border Army Commander Zhu Ying. Reporting as ordered. Guard stay outside. Commander, please enter. I walked in. 15+ generals sitting around, all eyes on me. Yesterday they saw a blood-soaked nightmare creature. Today, he's actually quite handsome, someone muttered. Yeah, clean up a stat monster, give him fresh clothes. And suddenly people noticed the face underneath all the gore. 14 years old with 2,000 points of constitution tends to produce favorable features. Just saying. Commander Zhu Ying greets General Fu. At ease, Fu Yud smiled. Remember that surprise I mentioned? He clapped his hands. Bring in the Imperial envoy. From outside the tent, several soldiers walked in wearing red cloaks. Not military red. Imperial Palace red. These were the Emperor's personal guard, the Forbidden City's elite. My heart rate jumped. Imperial guards meant imperial business. The lead guard held a scroll. A very official, very golden, very important-looking scroll. He unrolled it and announced, by imperial decree. Every single general in the tent stood up and bowed. Fu Yud included. In the military, you don't kneel in armor. A formal bow suffices. But everyone bows for the Emperor's words. We receive the imperial decree, the guard read. By the mandate of heaven, the Emperor proclaims. Deigning Border Army Acting Commander Zhu Ying has served his nation with selfless courage, penetrating deep into enemy territory, destroying enemy settlements, killing countless foes, achieving outstanding military merit, and earning our deep appreciation. Today, we reward merit and honor loyalty, declaring to all under heaven the valor of our faithful servant. Zhu Ying is hereby granted the hereditary noble title of County Baron, with a gift of 1,000 gold. We hope Lord Zhu will continue serving the nation. We shall never neglect those who serve well. So it is decreed. Wait. This was the title they decided before I raided the capital and beheaded Ahachu. This was the first reward for destroying the cavalry and the Blue Flag tribe. The news about the chieftain's head hadn't even been processed into a reward yet, which means there's another decree coming, for even bigger achievements. But right now, I was standing in a tent full of founding generals, holding an imperial scroll that officially made me a hereditary noble of the Ming dynasty. County Baron, Shennan, the lowest noble rank, sure, but hereditary. My bloodline is now permanently aristocratic. My future children will inherit this title. Their children after them. We are nobles now. Forever. Some of the generals in the room had fought for decades and never received a noble title. I could see the jealousy flickering in their eyes like candles in a draft. A few looked outright resentful. Tough luck, gentlemen. Maybe try beheading a chieftain next time. But here's what really made my day. Host receives first imperial decree. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. Host granted noble title non-hereditary county baron. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. Host granted hereditary county baron. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. 3 chests. The system gave me 3 treasure chests just for receiving the title. 1 for the decree itself, 1 for the base title, and 1 for the hereditary upgrade. The noble title is nice. The 1,000 gold is cool. But 3 loot boxes? That's the real reward right there. Forget the politics. Forget the court intrigue. Forget the jealous generals. Daddy's got boxes to open. The Imperial Guard who delivered my noble title bowed and said, Lord Zhu, my job here is done. Heading back to Nanjing, Lord Zhu. He called me Lord. Yesterday I was that blood-soaked teenager. Today I'm Lord Zhu. Amazing what a bath and a fancy scroll can do. I looked around the tent and quickly realized something awkward. I was the lowest-ranking person in the room. Everyone else was at least a regional vice commander or higher. I was a garrison commander sitting among generals like a freshman who accidentally walked into a faculty meeting. General Fu, if there's nothing else, I should probably leave before someone notices I don't belong here. Fu Yud grinned. Oh, you think that was the only surprise? He pulled out another scroll from his desk. Another one. Zhu Ying, hear this decree. I snapped to attention so fast I almost pulled a muscle. By the mandate of heaven, the Crown Prince proclaims, hold on. The Crown Prince? Not the Emperor. The Crown Prince wrote this one personally? Zhu Biao himself picked up a brush, dipped it in ink, and wrote a decree specifically for me? Daning Border Army Commander Zhu Ying has served the nation with extraordinary merit, raiding the enemy's capital, beheading their chieftain, defending Ming territory, protecting the people. His achievements are outstanding. We are deeply proud. The Crown Prince of the Ming Dynasty just said he was proud of me. In an official government document. That will be archived. Forever. Zhu Ying is hereby promoted to Regional Vice Commander. Authority to command 10,000 troops. 10,000. Additionally, 1,000 gold, ceremonial armor, ceremonial sword, ceremonial bow, and a red cloak. A red cloak. In the Ming military, only commanders at the rank of regional commander and above get to wear cloaks. It's the ultimate status symbol, the military equivalent of a Rolex, a corner office, and a reserved parking spot all rolled into one. And the Crown Prince just gave me one at a rank below the normal requirement. That's not just a promotion. That's a public declaration that says, this man is special. Treat him accordingly. The Huaishi generals in the room were seething. I could feel their hostility without even using my spirit stat. The Emperor and the Crown Prince both favor this kid. A teenager gets a red cloak before some of US. This is clearly a move to undermine Huaishi influence in the military. Yeah, you're right about that last one. I'm being positioned as the Emperor's answer to your faction's arrogance. And you know what? You earned this. Years of being obnoxious, decades of throwing your weight around, and now the throne is investing in your replacement. Me, a 14-year-old with a stat panel and zero political baggage. But here's the part that really blew my mind. The decree said, Fengten Zhao, by the mandate of heaven, the Crown Prince proclaims, not the Emperor. The Crown Prince issued an imperial decree using the full mandate of heaven formula. In any other dynasty, a Crown Prince doing that would be executed for overstepping. His own father would have him dragged out and beaten. But in the Ming Dynasty under Zhu Yuanzhang, Zhu Biao could literally use the imperial seal whenever he wanted. The Emperor didn't just allow it. He encouraged it. History's most secure Crown Prince. And he just signed a my promotion letter. I, Zhu Ying, gratefully receive the Emperor's grace and the Crown Prince's favor. Host receives imperial decree. Reward. Normal treasure chest X1. Host promoted to regional vice commander. Reward. Tier. 1 treasure chest X1. More boxes. A tier. 1 this time. Between the noble title chests and the promotion chests, I now have 5 unopened boxes sitting in my inventory like birthday presents I'm saving. For later, soldiers carried in my rewards, gleaming new general's armor with a real helmet, a beautiful ceremonial sword, an ornate bow, and that gorgeous red cloak. Real officer equipment, not the blood-encrusted hand-me-downs I've been wearing. Fu Yud handed me the scroll and said warmly, the red cloak is the Crown Prince's personal gift. It symbolizes his faith in you. Don't let him down. I won't, sir. Never. Good. Now SIT down. 3rd row, and seat. I had a seat now. At the general's table. Because I was a general now. Regional vice commander, 10,000 troops. That's the threshold where you stop being an officer and start being a commander. Then Fu Yud asked the big question. You're authorized for 10,000 troops now, but you only have 3,000. How do you want to build out your division? Every ear in the tent perked up. This was the resource allocation question, the one that determines who gets troops, horses, and budget. I looked Fu Yi dead in the eye. Sir, I'd like to keep all my current veterans. And I'd like to make full use of the war horses we captured from the Jurchens. The general's faces changed, because they immediately understood what I was asking for. A full cavalry division, 10,000 mounted troops, all riders, no infantry. The original Daning border army only had 10,000 cavalry total, spread across multiple divisions. And I was asking for 10,000 cavalry in MY unit alone. Bold appetite, kid, Fu Yi chuckled. You want a full cavalry command? Just for yourself? It's only a suggestion, sir. The final decision is yours. Polite. Humble. But I said what I said. And I meant it. Because here's what nobody in that room understood yet. I didn't just bring back 3,000 soldiers from the north. I brought back 3,000 soldiers and 10,000 combat-trained Jurchen warhorses. The horses are already here. The infrastructure for a cavalry division is already built. All I need is 7,000 more riders to fill the saddles. Give me the men. I already have the horses. And once I have 10,000 cavalry under my personal command, well, let's just say the Jurchens were the appetizer. Fu Yi turned to his logistics officer. How many horses did Zhu Ying bring back? Sir, besides the 3,000 horses his troops are riding, he brought back approximately 9,000 additional war horses. 9,000. All trained. All saddle-ready. All stolen from the Jurchens who no longer needed them because they were dead. Fu Yi nodded like a man who just found the answer key to his own exam. You want a cavalry division? Done. And immediately the Huaishi generals started screaming. Objection! Zhao Yong leapt up like his chair was on fire. The Daning border army has a 50,000 troop cap by imperial regulation. A dedicated cavalry division would exceed that limit. This requires imperial approval. You can't just. Seconded. This violates military structure. We must consult the emperor. This is unprecedented. One after another, Huaishi generals popped up like whack-a-moles of bureaucratic obstruction. Let me translate what they were actually saying. If this kid gets 10,000 cavalry, he'll outperform us on every battlefield for the rest of the war. Our monopoly on military glory is over. Stop him. They weren't wrong, either. A dedicated cavalry division of 10,000 is the most mobile, most destructive unit type in this era. Once Jinzhou falls, and we're fighting in open terrain, cavalry dominates. Infantry can't compete for glory when horses exist. Plus, and this is the real reason, they'd figured out the emperor's game. Zhu Yuanzhang was building me up to counterbalance their influence. Every promotion I get is a demotion of their relevance. And they were not having it. I sat quietly watching this political circus unfold, and a thought crystallized. So this is what court politics looks like from the inside. Noted. Then Fu Yi dropped the hammer. Enough. Dead silence. This has already been approved by the Crown Prince. You could literally hear the fight drain out of every single objector. Spines straightened. Mouths closed. Eyes widened. Crown Prince Zhu Biao. The man whose name makes Huaishi generals turn into house cats. The one person in the empire who can shut down any argument with 3 syllables of his title. Zhao Yong sat down so fast, he probably left skid marks. The Crown Prince has authorized a new division under Zhu Ying's command. During the current campaign, this unit reports directly to me and Grand General Feng Sheng. After the war, it returns to the Daning garrison structure. Nobody said a word. Because arguing against Fu Yi is risky. Arguing against the Crown Prince is suicide. Zhu Ying, I'll transfer 7,000 soldiers to fill your ranks. How long before your cavalry division is combat ready? A few days of mounted combat training, sir. The horses are already broken in. The soldiers just need to learn the saddle. This wasn't bravado. Riding in this era is surprisingly accessible thanks to the 3 treasures of cavalry: stirrups, proper saddles, and bridles. These aren't bareback nomads. With trained horses and basic equipment, most infantry can learn to ride in days. Plus, I had a secret advantage nobody knew about. My command seal gave stat bonuses to everyone under my authority. The moment those 7,000 soldiers were officially mine, they'd get stronger, faster, and more coordinated without even understanding why. Very well. I'll expedite the transfers. Inspector, Process all merit promotions for Zhu Ying's existing troops immediately so we can restructure the division properly. Yes, sir. Then the meeting shifted to the real problem. Jinzhou City. 10 days of assault. 6,000 Ming casualties. Not a single section of wall taken. Zhaoyang's solution? Keep attacking. Harder. More men. That's how siege warfare works. Wang Bai agreed. We're soldiers. We die for our country. That's the job. Fu Yi did not look happy. So your plan is to throw bodies at the wall until it breaks? And how many thousands do we lose in the process? If we take this city at the cost of 30,000 dead, is that really a victory? Nobody had an answer. Because their only answer was more brute force. That's the Huaishi playbook. Overwhelming aggression. Maximum violence. Works great in the field. Works terribly against fortress walls with 70,000 defenders and dozens of cannons. Fu Yi reluctantly agreed to continue the assault. Zhao Yong and Wang Bai would alternate leading attacks starting tomorrow. Full-scale offensive until the city breaks. I sat in my chair and said nothing. Why? First, I just got here. Walking into a room full of veteran generals and immediately telling them their strategy is wrong? That's how you make enemies for life. Second, my cavalry division doesn't exist yet. I have 3,000 veterans and an authorization letter. Until those 7,000 transfers arrive, and I have an actual combat unit, I'm a general without an army. Volunteering for the assault would mean sending my exhausted, battle-worn veterans into a meat grinder they don't deserve. So I kept my mouth shut and my ears open. Smart Zhu Ying. Patient Zhu Ying. Very un-Lan Yu behavior. After the meeting, Fu Yi dismissed everyone, except me. Zhu Ying. Stay. The other generals shot me curious looks as they filed out. Being asked to stay behind by the commanding general could mean anything. Promotion, punishment, secret mission, marriage proposal. Who knows? Once we were alone, Fu Yi looked at me with an expression that was half amused, half serious. So, Zhu Ying, after watching today's meeting, what did you observe? Oh, this is a test. He wasn't just keeping me behind for casual conversation. He wanted to know if I understood what happened in that room. The political dynamics, the power plays. The reason every Huaishi general tried to block my cavalry division. The subtext behind every objection. He wanted to know if I was just a talented fighter or if I had the brain to match. This was the real question. The one that would determine how Fu Yi, and by extension, the emperor and crown prince, would use me going forward. Weapon? Or leader? Tool? Or player? And the answer to his question? Well, I knew exactly what I observed. Every single thread. The Huaishi jealousy, the emperor's strategy, the crown prince's investment, the political chess game with me as the newest piece on the board. The question was, how much should I reveal? Because in this world, being too smart is just as dangerous as being too weak.